Good evening and welcome back to Bet Good Win Oxford Stadium for a meeting which is always eagerly anticipated. It's the Oxford Cheetahs against the Poole Pirates in the Cab Direct Championship. Both sides racing their final fixture of the regular league campaign. The Pirates top of the table, and with their playoff place confirmed, it's all about trying to stay top. The Cheetahs can't go any higher than 5th, but they're keen to finish on a high with a back-to-back win after defeating Workington at last time. And of course the events at Wimborne Road 3 weeks ago are still fresh in the memory. Poole won that match 48-42, so that's the margin they bring here for the aggregate point. Plenty more happened in that meeting, and it's normally eventful when these two go head to head. That was certainly the case in last year's grand final. One change to both teams. We'll bring you that team news here very shortly on what's another warm evening here at Oxford. Not quite as hot as the Sunday meeting against Workington. The final track preparations currently being made, and here is the Cab Direct Championship league table with Poole and Glasgow, the two confirmed playoff teams so far. This is Poole's final fixture, so they can get to 31 points in total. Glasgow have home and away matches to come against Edinburgh and an away trip to Workington. As things stand, they're favourites to go on and finish top, but certainly a Poole win here tonight would put pressure on Glasgow to go and get more away points. Oxford currently in 5th place can't make the playoffs, unfortunately. Edinburgh and Redcar currently in those places, hot favourites to be there come the end of the campaign. Berwick and Workington do still both have an outside chance with a big run of results over the next couple of weeks. So two sides who know each other pretty well because they've been meeting also in the BSN series this season, both the group stage and the semi-final, which is at the halfway stage after a big Poole win last week at Wimborne Road. They'll bring a 58-32 win back here in September for the second leg of that BSN semi-final. But Oxford, as we look at Mitch McDIARMID making his preparations there in the pits, Oxford keen to build on the victory over Workington on Sunday, because they've also got the Maxicab KO Cup to go for as well, with a semi-final against Redcar next month. And who knows, it could be the Poole Pirates or indeed the Glasgow Tigers again in the final should they get through. Well, let's take a look at tonight's team news then, starting with the Poole Pirates. And number one is Richard Lawson, who is pretty much a perfect match for Sam Masters in the Oxford team. They are the two top riders in the Cab Direct Championship, and Richard Lawson frighteningly consistent in that number one berth for Poole this season. They'll be using rider replacement number 2. That's because Tobias Thompson crashed out when guesting for Plymouth at the weekend. He suffered an ankle injury. They are hopeful he'll return for their home knockout Maxicab Cup tie against Glasgow next week. Number 3 is Lewis Kerr, former Oxford Cheetahs rider, of course, from the first season back here at Sandy Lane. Averaged just under 7 in the championship this season, but still a very solid rider to have in the engine room of the side. And alongside him in that engine room is the Poole captain, Zach Cook, riding at number 4, and a rider who has made several guest appearances for Oxford around here this season, and that has the potential right to the end of the season to be a really powerful pairing in the Poole middle order. And that's because of the improvement of the rider at 5, Anders Rowe, running with an average of just under 8 now in the championship. So genuine heat leader form from Anders Rowe, enabling the likes of Louis Kerr and Zach Cook to ride in the middle order. Good season for Anders Rowe, second spell with the Poole Pirates after a brief time with Glasgow last year. Riding at 6, another former Oxford rider, Paul Starke, was involved here in the early stages of Oxford's comeback, but certainly more regularly associated with the Pirates, former league title winner with them, and after a tough year last season came back to Wimborne Road in 2025 and holding that reserve place for the Pirates. He is joined, if you look at the experience of Paul Starke, he is joined by the relative inexperience, certainly in terms of senior speedway, of 16-year-old Will Kearns, one of the big hopes for the future, and having turned 16 earlier this summer, he's already doubled his 2-point average to 4.15 in his first few meetings. They are the Poole Pirates, managed of course by Neil Middleditch, who shares that role with Gary Havelock, who does the meetings north of Oxford, shall we say, for Poole. But Midlow, such a regular feature of Poole for decades now, and a unparalleled record of trophies along the way. For the Oxford Cheetahs then, Sam Masters rides out number 1. He has been in very consistent form himself and got that crucial race victory in Heat 15 on Sunday to secure the aggregate point against Workington. Very hard to beat around this circuit. But one rider who did beat him this season on the circuit is Jacob Hook, who was sensational for Workington on Sunday, scoring 10 paid, 12 at reserve, and that performance earned him the guest booking here tonight for the suspended Francis Gust. It will be a bit harder at number 2 in the main body against a strong Poole side, but certainly no question Jacob Hook deserving that guest booking. At number 3 is Jordan Jenkins, who provided us with plenty of thrills and thankfully not quite spills on Sunday with some of his antics on track, but it was a decent overall performance by Jenkins, who was working his way back to full sharpness after an injury-plagued summer. He goes at 3, and alongside him at number 4, we saw him in the pits earlier, young Mitch McDIARMID, 17 years of age, the young Australian who won 2 races on Sunday and is very busy at the moment because he seems to be doing all the meetings for the Spires as well, with the current absence of Eric Riss. Riding at 5 is Cameron Heeps, who was given the Rider of the Meeting Award on Sunday, largely thanks to a Heat 13 effort with Sam Masters, where they got the 5-1 to really take the Cheetahs clear in that match. So Heeps going at 5 for the Cheetahs again tonight, and as with last Sunday, the reserves could be all important because it's a powerful Oxford reserve combination led off by Luke Killeen at number 6. He was good for double figures on Sunday, and certainly around this track is very capable indeed, and he is joined at 7 by Jonas KNUDSEN, who was solid indeed with 6 paid 7 on Sunday evening. And as we mentioned then, this Oxford Cheetahs team is a far better one when Jonas KNUDSEN is in it compared to when he is not here. Managed by Peter Schroeck, who had a tough night of course on Monday with the Spires at King's Lynn, but looking forward to being back to championship action here tonight. So it is the Oxford Cheetahs against the Poole Pirates in the Cab Direct Championship. We are just under 10 minutes away from parade time here on a sunny evening at Sandy Lane, and for the first time tonight we can head down to the pits and join Laura Pollard. Laura.
Thank you, Dave, and welcome to Oxford. And it's lovely to be back on the stream. I've been missing for a few weeks, so I'm really looking forward to tonight's meeting. Oxford Cheetahs against the Poole Pirates, always an anticipated fixture. We're going to take you for a wander through pit lane just to see what it's looking like down here. So as we spin round, we'll make our way through the Oxford camp. Obviously, the Oxford Cheetahs, we're not going to make the playoffs, but spirits are really, really high. Everybody's been having a laugh and jumping in each other's camp just to make sure that, things are looking good. I hope you can still hear me, but we have got a bike warming up here with Mitchell Clough and Senna Summers, both jumping in on the spanners. And then making our way through the camp, just passing Luke Killeen and Sam Masters, who have both been in fantastic form lately. As we come down into the away side of the pits, as Dave mentioned, Poole are sitting top of the table, so confidence is high and there's a really calm feel to this side of the pits. It feels like they're really, really focused and they have the task in hand. They know what they're here to achieve. You can see Richard Lawson there just having a chat with the machine examiner, making sure that everything is as it should be. Zach Cook, who definitely knows his way around Sandy Lane. He has guested here on a few occasions, so he'll be looking to rack up some points for the Pirates this evening. Got Neil Middleditch just making sure that he's got everything in order there on his phone. And we talked about being focused. We've got Paul Starke and Anders Rowe and Will Cairns down there as well. You can see the determination, the focus on these guys. They really do know what it is that they're here to do this evening. Another person who's no stranger to the Oxford track is Louis Kerr, who did a season and a little bit here for Oxford, so no stranger. And again, I think he could be a little bit of a spoiler in the camp this evening. So yeah, it's all to play for. I think we're in for a cracking meeting. We really have got a lovely evening on our hands. So the first time, I'll hand you back up to Dave.
Two sides go head to head. You only have to look as far as the grand final last season for that, because goodness me, that was Speedway and a half, and obviously it finished in disappointment for the Cheetahs, but there were huge crowds, and the Poole Pirates eventually became league champions. They are always there or thereabouts, the Poole Pirates, since moving down, if you like, from Premiership to Championship back in 2021. They have been fighting for honours all the way. It was only the Glasgow efforts in the grand final of 2023 which stopped them from winning virtually a clean sweep of everything. And this season, whilst it's perhaps not been absolute Poole domination, one look at their away record shows just what a threat they can provide. They have won this season already away at Edinburgh, Glasgow and Scunthorpe. Yes, they won at Glasgow. It was a rather unusual meeting. Glasgow did have a couple of people missing from that one, and conditions didn't really suit the home side. They may find it tougher, Poole, when they go, if they go to Glasgow again. The Glasgow team that includes the likes of Viglas Nail and with Leon Flint and Dan Thompson at full fitness, but Poole did win there, and they also won at Scunthorpe. That's a 3 away wins so far. There have been 4 defeats, it has to be said, although 3 of them have been by narrow margins. They lost at Berwick, Plymouth and Redcar, all in tight encounters. They were beaten somewhat surprisingly 51-39 at Workington. That was the Comets comeback fixture after their sort of hiatus, if you like, from racing for 2 or 3 weeks, and Workington really hit Poole very early in that meeting, and Poole simply couldn't come back. That was the only real disappointment in terms of results this season. I think they would have hoped to have won at Plymouth as well, but the Cowley Stadium is becoming something of a fortress, at least when Plymouth can field a full team in the last few weeks. So that result wasn't too bad for the Pirates, and overall their playoff place has never been in any threat whatsoever. Funnily enough, the competition where they were under threat was the BSN series earlier in the campaign, because to all intents and purposes they looked like losing here at Cowley back in mid-April around Easter time. They managed to drag out a 45-all draw somehow in Heat 15, then won the Super Heat, and it was that result really that ensured them the place as the second best group runner-up, if you like, or the best group runner-up for second best overall, and the final place in the semi-finals. Had they not got that extra point here at Cowley, then they certainly wouldn't have been going through and still been chasing a treble at championship level again this season as they managed last year. So that was their key moment way back in the middle of April. Then of course they got pitched against Oxford again in the semi-final, and they made no mistake last Wednesday night with a big 26-point home victory, in contrast to the league match at Wimborne Road some 2 weeks earlier, when Oxford pushed all the way and it went down to a last decider 44-40, and most people will know what happened after that, but very, very briefly, restarts due to tapes issues, and then a tape issue again in the rerun, I think it was, of Heat 15, and eventually the race went ahead with some controversy surrounding the start marshal holding the tapes as it were in a safe position. So the race was complete. Poole got the 4-2 to win 48-42. Oxford were not happy. The STB had their say about it as well, but the points are in the bag, if you like, on the league table. And Oxford, I don't think they can't blame that incident for failure to make the playoffs this season. There have been other meetings, particularly home meetings, where things have gone wrong that have played a more significant part in that. Losing at home certainly to the likes of Edinburgh and Redcar have been the key. The Redcar meeting was the most damaging one. That was here at Bet Goodwin, Oxford Stadium, earlier this month, on the 6th of August in fact, when Oxford lost 49-41, and that effectively was a 6-point swing in the league table when you factor in the aggregate point as well. 3 points gained for Redcar, 3 points lost for Oxford on the night, and that really explains the difference in the league table between those two. Redcar going on to win an injury hit Plymouth last weekend, and that means that they are almost there as far as qualification is concerned, bearing in mind they face bottom club Scunthorpe home and away over the next couple of weeks. So it would be a huge turnaround if Redcar don't make it, as indeed Edinburgh with their 21 are virtually there as well, but Berwick and Workington could still have a say. There is Zach Cook, who Laura was talking about in the pits, a very busy rider indeed with the Poole Pirates and the Bellevue Aces, also going to be in the playoffs in the Rowe Motor Oil Premierships. An important role to play for Zach Cook, riding at number 4 for both of his sides actually in the UK, and had some brief experience at in Poland too this season, which did cause a bit of angst because he missed a pool match as a result. But yeah, Neil Middleditch chatting with Louis Kerr, and pretty relaxed at this stage of proceedings. They know their job is just about done in terms of obviously in terms of making the playoffs, but they will be wondering just who they're going to face in the semi-finals. Will it be Edinburgh? Will it be Redcar? And of course the other intriguing factor of that is there is the possibility of a Glasgow v Edinburgh semi-final in the playoffs, which would certainly cause some drama, I am sure. Whether Poole would prefer Redcar or Edinburgh, I think they'd be fairly confident of taking a decent lead over both. Redcar without Eric Riss, it's not been quite the side that they were, although they're very capable indeed, but they struggled at Poole earlier in the campaign. Edinburgh have got a good run of form going at Armadale, but would they do any damage to the Pirates at Wimborne Road? We'll have to wait and see. They certainly do have the ability again in that side, particularly with Jonathan Grant at reserve. So there's lots of interesting permutations. But one thing's been sure, unfortunately, as far as Oxford are concerned, and Peter Schroeck chatting with Sam Masters and Jordan Jenkins out there, and Cameron Heeps as well, as Louis Kerr comes across as we get ready for parade. Oxford, unfortunately, won't be there. I think many felt when the team was constructed, despite the changes that had to be made because of the injury to Scott Nicholls, the confirmation earlier in the winter that he wouldn't be able to take his place this season, certainly for the first half of the campaign. So a different looking Oxford team this year. It still looked like they got a team that could reach the top four, but then circumstances have dictated against them. The Dan Jilks injury early on was a massive blow. The replacement with him with Francis Gus really hasn't paid off to any great level with points, particularly at home. Then you've had the injury to Jordan Jenkins during the summer that took him out, and then you're taking out a vital part of the middle order, along with the problems for Cameron Heeps too. So that's really 3 riders have been afflicted. Throw into that the absence of Jonas KNUDSEN for numerous home matches due to international commitments, and that is probably why Oxford found themselves just on the outside looking in. They may well still finish in 5th place mid-table in the Cab Direct Championship, depending on the scores elsewhere over the coming weeks. And Peter Schroeck is always a man to talk about big picture, not getting overly carried away by one result. It's an interesting balancing act, and a fine balancing act to find, because supporters are desperate for success and to win things, and when they're turning up here week after week with Oxford getting good crowds, they do want to see their team winning and challenging for major honours. And certainly this season in the league it won't happen for Oxford, but they still have the cup to go for. The BSN series would be a bit of a stretch, it has to be said. Sam Marston and Richard Lawson are 2 riders who know each other very well. They get on very well. They've clashed on track, of course, on a few occasions, as most of the top boys have. They were teammates last season with Leicester in the Premiership. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, they are very much the 2 outstanding riders in the Championship. Sam Masters with an average of 10.31, Richard Lawson at 9.53. In real terms, in terms of beating opposition, they're virtually neck and neck. In fact, Richard Lawson does tend to get the odd bonus point here or there, which may make life easier as far as team building is concerned for the following season. But it's hard to envisage a Poole side nowadays in the Championship without Richard Lawson at number 1, such as the consistency he brings to that role. And whilst others tend to come through the ranks and then move through and focus on racing elsewhere, the likes of Ben Cook and Tom Brennan, for example, if you've got a real consistent spearhead like Richard Lawson, who's so consistent with even though he's pushing on to 40 years of age now, and not too far away from that, then that is a big plus point to put in your team building box at the very start of the campaign. So riders make their way out onto the parade area on the infield, heading up towards their bikes, which are across the start line. Decent crowd inside here tonight. Obviously plenty of travelling support from Poole. It's one of their most local meetings. Obviously Plymouth and Oxford are the 2 local ones in what's effectively a northern league beyond that. So chance to see the Poole Pirates away from home for their supporters on a sunny Wednesday evening is one that many have taken here at Oxford. They are back here again in September for the 2nd leg of the BSN semi-final. And as I mentioned, who knows, it could be a knockout cup final again between the Cheetahs and the Pirates. So presenter Richard Palmer will shortly be calling the 2 captains across. That's Sam Masters for the Oxford Cheetahs, and it is Zach Cook for the Poole Pirates. Zach Cook inheriting that captaincy from his brother Ben, who led the way last season to the treble at Championship level. I think they may well find the Glasgow Tigers are a strong opponent should it get to that stage, and Danny Ford has alluded to that as well, talking about must-win Speedway, talking about getting it right every time. Certainly the result they got against Oxford last week at home in the BSN will give them confidence around their home circuit. So that Cook just about to have a word on the infield. Pirate skipper Zach Cook, he'll be choosing coin toss very shortly. Sam Masters, the Oxford skipper, is now talking to Richard Palmer ahead of the coin toss. So wanting to do as well as they can in the remaining competitions this season. So coin toss about to take place, which will be Zach Cook's shout.
Okay, so which way you going to Okay, so that means we are 1, 3, 4 Pirates.
So Sam Masters wins the toss and takes heat 15 for gate choice. Adley did at the weekend, and the Poole Pirates go for gates 1 and 3 in heat 1 as a result with Zach Cook. So let's have a look down the lineups out here with Will Cairns, the 16-year-old, going at number 7 for the Poole Pirates. Has raced here at Oxford before. Actually had a big crash here in the under-19s last season, but I'm sure that'll be completely out of his mind, and he's definitely a rider that we need to watch out for. The likes of him and Cooper Russian over the next couple of years are ones to watch as teenagers, and Will Cairns is a bit of a showman too, so we'll see what he can produce here this evening. Next to him at number 6 for the Poole Pirates, as I mentioned, the other end of the experience scale really, but very capable indeed, Paul Starke. Next to him at number 5 is Anders Rowe. Riding at number 4, we've just seen him on the parade, captain Zach Cook. Across we go to number 3 with Louis Kerr. And as I mentioned, rider replacement for Tobias Thompson out with an ankle injury. They hope to see him back next week, and that leaves at number 1 Richard Lawson for the Pirates. Certainly a hard rider, a hard riding man, but always gets the big points for the Pirates. For the Oxford Cheetahs then, and always good to see this rider here, Jonas KNUDSEN. Thankfully it was a Wednesday night, no Danish commitments for him this evening, so good news for Oxford to have him in the side. That's one less headache for Peter Schroeck to have to contend with, trying to book guests. Next to him at number 6 is the ever battling, ever trying Luke Killeen, who was involved in some great action on Sunday against Workington. Riding at 5 is Cameron Heeps with that big win in Heat 13 on Sunday. Mitch McDIARMID going at number 4, partnered by Jordan Jenkins at number 3. The guest who rode so well here for Workington on Sunday, Jacob Hook, in for the band Francis Gust, going at number 2. Gets a great reception from the Oxford crowd as well, and that leaves the Cheetahs skipper and number 1 Sam Masters being pushed off by Peter Schroeck there for the parade lap. So we are on track now for the parade, practice starts and what have you ahead of the main action here at Bet Goodwin, Oxford Stadium. Lovely evening, perfect conditions for Speedway. We're looking forward to 15 great heats here in the Cab Direct Championship between the Oxford Cheetahs and the Poole Pirates. So the riders make their way Back to the pits, and a couple of minutes' time we'll have them on the time allowance for the opening race. A meeting that does tend to throw up some drama along the way. Poole have a decent record here. Well, they've got a decent record pretty much everywhere actually in the championship, but say normally close here. One of the nights they had a tough one actually was the grand final, first leg last season, when the Cheetahs did build up a lead and actually left the meeting feeling it could have been a bit more as well. And as it turned out, it wasn't quite enough because Poole turned it round in the second leg amidst all the drama and controversy at Wimborne Road. But certainly here at Oxford, it's normally close when these two sides meet, and the general feeling tonight is that it may well be close again. And don't forget the aggregate point also in play, with the Pirates 48-42 up from that meeting at Wimborne Road 3 weeks ago. And if they want to finish top of the table, then I suspect they're going to need all 3 points here from Oxford tonight, when you bear in mind that Glasgow are only 1 point behind them. The Tigers in great form, and with a home match to come against Edinburgh, which you would expect them to win. They also have to go to Edinburgh, which will be a heck of a lot tougher, and they've also got to go to Workington, where never know quite what to expect from the Comets, and as I mentioned, the Comets did take down Poole earlier in the season. So from Poole's point of view here tonight, to get 3 points and go 4 clear of Glasgow, that would be very useful indeed for them, and certainly give Glasgow a target to aim at in the final 3 matches. But as I mentioned, they don't know who's going to finish third and fourth, or at least in what order. So they're going to fight for top spot and the right for top spot and the prestige of that. But then exactly who they face in the semi-finals of the playoffs, they'll have to wait and see. 2-minute warning is on for the opening race here at Bet Goodwin Oxford Stadium. The Pirates have rider replacement in Heat 1. Tobias Thompson is on a 4.54 average, so the rider replacement options are their 2 reserves, and the rider directly above Tobias Thompson, which is Louis Kerr. Now, I think you can pretty much mark in Louis Kerr for Heat 8. Will Cairns going to go in Heat 1, which is obviously Neil Middleditch in the early stages, looking to give the reserve a go and get him straight on track for Heat 1 and Heat 2. So Will Cairns taking the rider replacement rider. Sam Masters makes his way onto the track for the opening race here. Tobias Thompson is a loss for Poole. He's been in good form in the last few weeks, been a bit up and down this year, but around this track he's come up with big rides in the past. Remember meeting Scott Nichols last season around this circuit. So they will miss Tobias Thompson, but they'll see if they can cover reasonably with rider replacement. Jacob Hook taking the guest booking for the Cheetahs tonight in place of Francis Gust. He will be off gate 2 in this opening race, with Sam Masters going off the outside, and we await the Poole Pirates. Here they come to the start line for the opening race here, sponsored by Bet Goodwin, and Will Cairns as the rider replacement goes in yellow off the inside. Jacob Hook in blue off gate 2 for the Cheetahs, Richard Lawson in white off gate 3 for the Pirates, and Sam Masters in red off the outside for the Oxford Cheetahs. It's still a sunny evening. The sun will shortly go down over the third bend. I hope that doesn't affect the riders too much going in at this stage, because it's actually a very bright sunset here at Oxford. A decent crowd away on bends 3 and 4, and a big contingent of Poole fans on that third bend have made the trip to support their boys as they bid to finish top of the table. Can the Cheetahs stop them here tonight? Cairns off the inside, Hook off gate 2, Lawson gate 3, Masters off the outside, 3 lights on for 81, bit of edging there by Masters and by Hook, and in fact the tapes haven't gone up, so a bit of creeping, but that was because they were expecting the tapes to rise and they didn't. So that would appear to be a bit of a glitch in the automated software. Bit of handshaking going, or hand waving going on. I'm just staying out the start line. I think first of all they need the tapes to be raised before anything else happens. Well, are they being brought back in or not? Bit of confusion here. The riders won't want to sit there for too long, so Will Cairns will take a bit more time at the start line. Haven't gone back on 2 minutes, but they're coming back into line, so quite what happened there I'm not too sure. We will go again with Heat 1, waiting for Sam Masters, who just comes very a bit more narrow there off the outside gate. So Cairns off the inside, Hook off gate 2, Lawson gate 3, Masters on the outside, this time we're away, and Will Cairns makes a good start from the inside, Lawson's there too, Lawson makes it from 3, Sam Masters lifting on the second bend, going out wide, and Lawson gets the advantage on the back straight with Masters in second place. Third now is Jacob Hook, and Cairns, who dropped off gate 1 very nicely, got slide up there on the first bend, he's out the back. Track has been well watered before the meeting. I wonder if that's what caught out Sam Masters in the early stages. He's got some speed to try and race after Richard Lawson now as he looks for an outside move and attempts to complete the second lap. Still Lawson with the advantage then. It's Masters in second place, Jacob Hook in third, and Will Cairns lost ground out the back. It's like being a shared heat here to open things up here at Oxford. Lawson made no mistake really from gate 3, and Will Cairns has come to a halting back out the back on turn 4, so some kind of issue there, and that will be a bit of a concern for the Pirates. You can certainly smell of a burning clutch there. That may be the issue for Will Cairns as they come around that final bend. It will be a win for Richard Lawson, second place for Sam Masters. In fact, Jacob Hook gets the second place. So Sam Masters easing off there on the run to the finish line. And that one was all won really on turns 1 and 2 when Sam Masters lifted quite violently on the second bend. So that allowed Lawson to go well clear, but his teammate Will Cairns, who was at the back anyway, was a retirement. So a victory for Lawson, who goes round to acknowledge the travelling support. The Pirates fans enjoyed that one from him, and there will be a quick turnaround now required for Will Cairns, who will get some extra time, but obviously won't get any further additional time, and it may well be a bike switch. He is sprinting back to the pitch. The bike is following him back in, just behind what you can see there with Lawson. There's Will Cairns, and bike is going in behind him. So a shared heat in the opening race. Richard Lawson the winner of heat 1, second place at Jacob Hook, third Sam Masters, Will Cairns was a retirement, 3 apiece from the opening race. And let's take a look back on the start here, and watch out for Sam Masters here in red, because as the tapes go up, see, initially Cairns gets to start there over Hook, but he doesn't really go too far on the first bend. And Masters here, as he tries an outside run, just lifting, and whilst he had the skill and the experience to control that and avoid any kind of major incident up there on the second bend, really lost him too much ground in terms of catching up with Richard Lawson, and that was really all Lawson needed to go off clear and take the victory. So 3 apiece from the opening race here, and there will be extra time allowed for Will Cairns, and we'll have to see whether there is any bike swapping activity there. I felt I could smell clutch burning during that race. He had made quite a good start from the inside, but Jacob Hook quickly got round him on turn 1, and Cairns wasn't a factor beyond that. But Poole will hope he could be a factor in heat 2, which is one that Oxford are going to certainly want to be getting decent points out of, with their 2 on track there. You can see Luke Killeen and Jonas KNUDSEN. Peter Schroeck just behind there. Paul Starke making his way onto the track just behind. 4-point average for Paul Starke. I think he may have been hoping for a bit more than that this season, but in saying that, he has certainly come up with some big rides along the way, sometimes at unexpected times. And it will be important for Poole that both Starke and Cairns are firing in points, especially around their home circuit when it comes to the important aggregate ties. Poole have not had too many issues on winning aggregates so far this season, certainly in the league, as the 2-minute warning now sounds. The only aggregate point they've dropped was against Workington, who got remarkably close to Poole at Wimborne Road, and of course Poole had that big win, Poole had that bigger defeat, I should say, at the GT Tires Arena. So Workington did get the aggregate there, but Poole have had a decent record elsewhere in the league with aggregate points this season. Here is Jonas KNUDSEN making his way to the start line. He'll be going off gate 3 here in this heat 2, and bike is being prepared. I think it's the same bike that Will Cairns is on, just watching out of the pits. So he will be the last rider to come around. 1 minute 20 on the clock. He's currently sat there, you can see, on the bike. We'll see when he comes round if it's a clean bike or not, but it looked like it was the same one. The other 3 riders are at the start line as Will Cairns makes his way round, and we go for heat number 2 at the Bet Goodwin Oxford Stadium, and it will be Sponsored by Keith Cook, and it will be Luke Killeen riding in red off the inside for the Cheetahs. Paul Starke in white off gate 2. Jonas KNUDSEN goes in blue off gate 3, and Will Cairns goes in yellow off the outside. It's definitely the same bike that Cairns is riding, that he was out on in the opening race. So they will hope they've fixed the issues. They're going off the outside here against what on paper with Killeen and KNUDSEN, there's got to be, there can't be too many stronger reserve pairings on paper in the Cab Direct Championship, if any. And Oxford, with the uncertainties and inconsistencies in their middle order, do need their reserves to fire. Killeen rides in red here off the inside. Starke in white off gate 2. KNUDSEN in blue off gate 3. Cairns in yellow off the outside. All square from the opening race, heat 2. Start line. Green light on the left, green away there goes Killeen, comes off gate 1 very well. KNUDSEN's gone with him, and Oxford do have 1 and 2 into the first turn, but KNUDSEN goes wide on turn 2, almost covers the fence and drops to the back. That's the same sort of incident as Sam Masters had, but now there's trouble for Paul Starke on the third bend. It's absolute chaos here on the opening line of heat 2, and I think they've got 2 retirements here. It's Luke Killeen who leads from Will Cairns, and both KNUDSEN and Starke are clearing the track on the main straight. That's remarkable stuff. And currently Oxford holding a 3-2 here in heat 2 with Luke Killeen with the lead. Second place Will Cairns, and KNUDSEN got into all kinds of trouble on turn 2. I think he may have clipped the fence, in fact, and done some damage to the bike. And Paul Starke rolled into men 3 and didn't go too much further. And so with 1 lap to go, Luke Killeen most leads. He's made it look fairly straightforward. Second place is Will Cairns, having a decent, solid ride there. It's not quite what Oxford would have wanted, certainly from the gate. They're gated on a 5-1. They will get a race advantage, though, the 3-2, as Luke Killeen takes it convincingly ahead of Will Cairns in second. And that's all there is, because these two had to pull off, and I think they're both going to exchange a word as they do so. What an extraordinary first lap that was. Oxford gating on a 5-1. KNUDSEN making a mistake on turn 2 and lifting. And then Starke, who was comfortably in second place into the third bend, also coming to a halt. And they both ended up stopping at virtually the same point on the exit of bend 4. So not the kind of situation you expect to see, but the result of an unusual heat 2 was a win for Luke Killeen in red, second for Will Cairns in yellow, and retirements for both Paul Starke and Jonas KNUDSEN. 3-2 in favour of the Oxford Cheetahs, and with 2 heats gone, it's Oxford 6, Poole 5. Well, let's try and pick the bones out of this once again. And the first riders to watch, really, this is actually the start of heat 1 that we're watching here, with where Masters lifted off the second bend. But we actually saw similar action in heat 2, a bit further round the second bend when KNUDSEN picked up unwanted drive, and that caused him, I think, to just clip the fence on the back straight, certainly beyond the air fence, and that probably is what did some damage to the bike. We'll see it again here. So watch them ride it in blue off gate 3. Killeen's made the start, KNUDSEN's made the start, but then just on the exit here, there the bike takes off. There he saves it, does well. Does that do any further damage, or is it stopped anyway? And Paul Starke's already not under power into the bend. He's just coasting his way out. So there's Killeen leading from Cairns, and Starke and KNUDSEN sort of kind of look at each other and say, well, neither of us can finish here. And that's what happened. 6-5 after 2 races with that 3-2 in heat 2. Let's hope we see something a bit more conventional in heat 3. There is Mitch McDIARMID in the blue helmet colour. He'll be joined by Jordan Jenkins, and they'll go up against Louis Kerr and Zach Cook. So it's 2 Oxford riders so far have been caught out on the first bend or so. We're not in exactly the same place. So across the lineup for heat 3, sponsored by MPA Liquid Screed, and Louis Kerr goes in white off the inside. Mitch McDIARMID in blue off gate 2. Zach Cook in yellow off gate 3. Jordan Jenkins in red off the outside. Lots of laps of the Bet Goodwin Oxford Stadium for Zach Cook this season. A regular guest for the Cheetahs. Has also guested for the Spires too, and against the Spires, and raced against the Spires for Bellevue. So if you were doing a list of riders who don't ride for Oxford but have raced here regularly this year, then Zach Cook, I think, would be pretty much top of that list. Kerr on the inside, McDIARMID off gate 2, Cook off gate 3, Jenkins off the outside, all in line for him, 3 narrowly so far for the Gifted, away they go. Kerr off the inside gate gets there in front of McDiarmid, and Zach Cook goes with him, and Poole left 1 and 2, and there's a lift there off the outside too for Zach Cook. Few ropes being caught out on the first 2 turns, but the Poole Pirates are away here in 1 and 2, and now Jordan Jenkins has mechanical issues. He's coasting around at the back, and Poole have first and second here on the second lap. It's Zach Cook with the lead. Second place is Louis Kerr with Mitch McDiarmid in third, and Jenkins has got going again, somewhere adrift at the back, so Heat 3 going wrong here as far as Oxford are concerned. Poole Pirates making sharp starts from gates 1 and 3, and Zach Cook managed to control that lift on the second bend. The Oxford riders weren't able to make any impression at all on that first lap, and as we go on to the final lap, still the Poole Pirates in a convincing 1-2 situation. Zach Cook with the advantage, second place at Louis Kerr, Mitch McDiarmid chasing but really not making any impression, and Jordan Jenkins out the back is 3/4 of a lap behind. So across the finishing line they go for Heat 3, and a big one for the Poole Pirates with a win for Zach Cook. The second place Louis Kerr, Mitch McDiarmid third, and that's a pretty emphatic 5-1 for the Poole Pirates in Heat 3. Doing it from the gate, Zach Cook controlling things on the second bend after getting a lift, which we've seen others have so far tonight. But a bit of thinking time. You see a rather glum looking Peter Schroeck there in the background, because that was all too convincing for the Poole Pirates for Oxford's liking there, and the Cheetahs will have to think again in the next race or so. So Heat 3, a big one for the Poole Pirates, win for Zach Cook in yellow, Louis Kerr second in white, Mitch McDiarmid third in blue. 5-1 to the Poole Pirates, and with 3 heats gone, it's Oxford 7, Poole 10. Well, good start here by the Poole Pirates, and the rider in yellow, Zach Cook, was the rider who took control despite lifting on the second bend. You see there they managed to squeeze out McDiarmid into the first bend. I think Jenkins already got some kind of issue there, and a lift from Cook, the one he could control reasonably well, and then away and clear and full perfect laps, and Jenkins already in red there, slipping out of contention. Bit of frustration there for him, and Mitch McDiarmid unable to land a blow on Louis Kerr on that first lap, and really Louis Kerr just managed to control that second place very neatly indeed for what was a clear 5-1 for the Poole Pirates. They lead them by 10 points to 7. We're about to take our first track grading break of the evening with Poole in that 3-point lead. Let's head down to the pits and join Laura.
Thank you very much, Dave. I'm joined by Midley. Midley, you are ahead on the night and on the aggregate point. I said earlier on the camp feels really calm. How is it looking from your point of view?
Yeah, no, we're good. We had a little bit of a blip, and I think we had a good win the other day, last week at Poole, and we just want to keep it going now. We're getting into the business end, playoffs coming up, and got all the 1 to 7 that I want, and just hopefully we can take it from here.
And for any of the Poole fans that might be watching at home, how is Tobias?
He's okay. He's got a sprained ankle, and tonight's not every meeting's a must-win meeting, but there's not a lot riding on it, so we felt it better, and he felt better just to have a rest and get some sort of treatment on his ankle. But he's broken. He'll be back next week.
Sitting top of the table, obviously playoffs will be at the forefront of your mind, but you'll want to take the full 3 points away from this evening. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, and as you say, playoffs are coming up, and Glasgow got a couple of matches in hand, so it looks like they're going to finish top. We'll probably finish second, which is not a bad thing. So it all starts again. I've done it before. Come in first and lost it. Come in fourth and won it. So anything can happen.
What is it about Poole? There's just something magical about the Pirates that anyone that rides there, the best of them always seems to come out.
Yeah, I don't know what to say really. I just think that you're absolutely right though. I think a number of riders have come over the years and not won a league title, and they've won a league title with us, so that's nice really. But yeah, I don't know, it's just Matt and Dan and myself, we're very, very, we love the club, we bleed blue and white and just want success, and the riders come here and they see that.
Thank you very much, Neil. I'll let you get back to your team.
Thank you.
Still a bit of track work going on behind us. We've seen a couple of riders maybe get into a little bit of bother coming out the second bend, so I can see the track curators are working really hard on that area. I'll hand you back to Dave, who's got a slightly better view of the track than me.
Thank you very much indeed, Laura. Yes, no particular activity on one certain area of the track. We'll see if that does change as this track grade goes on. It has been really the exit of bend 2 that's caused the bit of concern. Certainly we've seen a rider lifting in all of those 3 races, but they have controlled it fairly neatly as well. Whether that was what caused Jonas KNUDSEN's stoppage in Heat 2, we'll have to wait and see. But I did get the impression he slightly hit the fence on the back straight after the incident. Neil Middleditch wins the award for the klaxon for the first mention of business end of the season. That's the buzzword at the moment. That's what we're heading towards. That's the first time we've heard that here tonight. But interesting comments from Midlow, talking about he is now expecting to finish second. He thinks Glasgow will get the points that they require. The Tigers are certainly on a really strong run, but he may be talking down his size chances a little bit, because if they do win here and get their maximum points, they'll force Glasgow to score at least 4 or 5, and that means that Glasgow have to win at least one away match over the next week or so. So it might not be certain that Poole finished second, but he's certainly relaxed about the situation, and I think he'd be fairly happy to face whoever he faces in the semi-finals. Those top two have been pretty convincing this season. But it's been a good season too for Edinburgh, when you bear in mind that the Monarchs have been regular playoff finishers over the years, but quite often in recent years, because they've finished 5th or 6th in a 6-team playoff. So the fact that you see Edinburgh third in the table just shows the step forward they've made this year, and some very astute signings at Armadale to put them right back in the mix. So always good to see some variety in that battle. Redcar have been pretty good too. They hold the 4th place. Here you see the scene over on bench 3 and 4, and the mass ranks of the Poole Pirates fans. Always travelling in good numbers to Bet Goodwin Oxford Stadium, looking for a 4th away victory in the Championship this season. Well, the tractor has disappeared back into the area behind Bend 4, so we have the riders at the moment making their way onto the track for the 2-minute warning to come on ahead of Heat 4, with the Pirates in an early 3-point lead here, 10 points to 7, and we'll be seeing for the first time tonight in Heat 4 Cameron Heeps for the Oxford Cheetahs, the SD Timo Car Sales Oxford Cheetahs powered by County Plumbing Supplies. And for the first time tonight for the Poole Wessex Marine Pirates, it will be Anders Rowe riding in white. As ever, with Father Dell behind him as mechanic. They are just awaiting the 2 minutes to come on to get the official push off. I think the track staff are complete, just having a look around the circuit now. Yes, the track is all clear, so we should be good to go on Heat 4 very, very shortly, and there goes the 2-minute warning. So it's 10 points to 7 in favour of the Pirates. Cameron Heeps and Jonas KNUDSEN make their way round to the start line, and Jonas KNUDSEN hoping for better luck here than in Heat 2. He'll be off gate 2 in this race, because Cameron Heeps going off the outside, Will Cairns off the inside gate. Bit of concern for Poole, of course, the mechanical failure for Starke in Heat 2, so, and he could well be in line for rider replacement in the next race. But Heat 4 is on the way now, sponsored by Nuffield Health, and William Cairns goes in yellow off the inside gate. Jonas KNUDSEN in blue off gate 2, Anders Rowe in white off gate 3, and Cameron Heeps in red off the outside. About a minute to go here on the clock, and first track action for Anders Rowe and Cameron Heeps. I'm sure that Heat 13 race win for Cameron Heeps on Sunday would have done him the world of good. He was still a bit down after the meeting because of other rides that hadn't gone his way, particularly his crash in his previous ride on the 3rd bend. But that would have been a really good ride by Captain Sam Masters to allow him round the outside on the first 2 turns. They raced away from the Workington duo. Certainly a tough test here in this middle order. The backup for Sam Masters, oh so important for the Oxford Cheetahs, especially against such a strong top 4 as the Pirates have. Cairns on the inside, KNUDSEN gate 2, Rowe gate 3, and Cameron Heeps on the outside. Heat 4 gets underway. Jonas KNUDSEN, really good start there by him off gate 2. Anders Rowe goes powering around the outside to take the advantage. Heeps gets round Cairns on the second turn, so a 3-3 situation as we stand, with Anders Rowe out in front. Heeps goes round KNUDSEN into second place. KNUDSEN knows he's there, looks over his right shoulder, but Anders Rowe is charging clear with the advantage up the back straight for the second time. Cameron Heeps in second again. There's not too much pace about KNUDSEN in third. Will Cairns out the back, just holds the inside line for now. 2-3-3 at the midway point of Heat 4, and still Anders Rowe with the advantage, and impressively stretching clear here. Anders Rowe, and he'll have a big part to play for Poole in their title quest over the coming weeks with the speed he has when he gets out in front and showing it once again. Second place is Cameron Heeps. Jonas KNUDSEN, I don't think he's happy with his setup here tonight. We've seen him beat some good riders around this circuit this season, but tonight he is in third place in Heat 4, and it will be a convincing tapes to flag virtually victory for Anders Rowe in Heat 4, ahead of the Oxford duo Cameron Heeps in second place and Jonas KNUDSEN in third, with Will Cairns out the back. So a shared heat there, and Anders Rowe doing the job pretty efficiently in Heat 4. It was a good start by Jonas KNUDSEN off gate 2, but Anders Rowe was quickly around him by the time he got pretty much to the midway point of turns 1 and 2, and from then on there was no real threat from the Oxford duo. Heeps comfortably in second place, but as I say, no way past the race winner Anders Rowe, the rider in white for the Poole Pirates, taking Heat 4. Cameron Heeps in second place in red. Jonas KNUDSEN go in blue for third place for a point, and the shared heat there means after 4 races it's Oxford 10, Poole 13, and the Pirates are also 9 points clear on aggregate. Start on action then from Heat 4. Rider in blue makes a good one here. Jonas KNUDSEN, he outgates Anders Rowe, but Anders Rowe's quickly onto that fast line, so mid-track line, knows where the grip is to power him round, and Cameron Heeps doing the same there against Will Cairns on the opening lap. Cairns going past his teammate, and then the 3-3 was confirmed. Here is Paul Starke on track for Heat 5, taking the rider replacement ride for Tobias Thompson. Starke having that mechanical failure first time out, didn't get beyond the third bend in Heat 2, so he'll hope for a lot better here, but Paul will be hoping for, I'm sure, Richard Lawson to dominate this race. There's the rider off the inside gate, Jordan Jenkins, who also had trouble in his first ride. We've seen numerous retirements in the first few races here. So hopefully the bike gremlins have been sorted out on both sides, including Paul Starke there in yellow. And Heat 5 sponsored by Teng Tools, with Jordan Jenkins in red off the inside, Paul Starke in yellow off gate 2, Mitch McDIARMID in blue off gate 3, and Richard Lawson in white off the outside. 13-10 for the Pirates. As I say, the RR in Heat 8 I'm sure will be Louis Kerr. That's the obvious move on that one. Then they'll have either Starke or Cairns to go in Heat 11 to complete the rise to cover for Tobias Thompson. So into line for Heat 5. Jenkins off the inside, Starke off gate 2, McDIARMID gate 3, Lawson off the outside. Green light on the Heat 5, and away they go. Lawson tries to make it off the outside gate, and does so I think mid-track. McDIARMID gets stuck in there against Paul Starke, but gets sent out wide off the second bend, and Starke goes through into third place. So Lawson leads here from Jenkins, and what can McDIARMID do here as he tries to battle back round the outside of Paul Starke, and Paul Starke there rides McDIARMID out of it. With Lawson stretching clear out in front, Paul Starke has got what could be a useful third place here for the Poole Pirates. Lawson still race leads from Jenkins. Poole clear there on the second lap. Jenkins in second has it over Starke, but McDIARMID lost ground there at the end of the second lap, and so far Paul Starke holds that third place. Could be all important for the Pirates. As things stand, this would open them up into a 5-point advantage after Heat 5, and McDIARMID has really lost ground during this race. That's frustrating as far as Oxford concerned. Also got the job done there from the outside. Jenkins running a solid second, but Starke in third place is very, very useful for the Pirates. He's dropped off McDIARMID as the race has gone on. Lawson comes round to get his second win of the meeting. It's Lawson over Jenkins, with Starke in third place and McDIARMID out the back. Not a good ride for Mitch McDIARMID there. I think he got pretty much filled in there on the second bend. He went wide after the battle with Paul Starke, and Richard Lawson was a very clear winner indeed of that one, as he was in the opening race. So the Poole Pirates number 1 with 2 rides and 2 wins so far, and his side edge 5 points clear on the night with that 4-2 in Heat 5. Result then is a win for the rider in white, Richard Lawson. Second in red, Jordan Jenkins. Third in yellow, Paul Starke, and Mitch McDIARMID at the back. A 4-2 there in favour of the Pirates, and with 5 heats gone, Oxford 12, Poole 17. Here's the start once again. Lawson driving to that bend really impressively there on the way to turn 1. Quickly around Jenkins, and McDiarmid going wide off the second turn. And whilst he'd made an early challenge here around the outside on bend 4, Paul Starke just let the bike run away. And there you see McDiarmid with all kinds of shale on his right side. And there was nothing out there for him, or nothing from the bike as well, to get him back into contention. So Peter Schroeck standing with arms folded whilst we have a slight delay before Heat 6, because Paul Starke will take 2 rides in succession. Jacob Hook and Sam Masters, the combination for the home side on track. But it is absolutely crucial from Oxford's point of view that Sam Masters wins races, which we know he can and will around this track, but it's Jenkins, McDiarmid and Heeps in the middle order. They've got to offer some backup, and at the moment what we've seen tonight is that the advantages for the Pirates have come in heats 3 and 5 against the Jenkins-McDiarmid combination, 5-1 against them against Kerr and Cook in heat 3, and a 4-2 against them from Lawson and Starke in heat 5. McDiarmid in the background just having some words with his pit crew, probably trying to explain exactly what's not working at the moment, because we have seen so many exciting signs from Mitch McDiarmid for a real run of the future this season. Stepping up from reserve, don't forget he was a newcomer at reserve at the start of the campaign. In fact, he wasn't quite here at the start of the campaign with issues over his visa. 2-minute warning for heat 6. Jacob Hook on track, second place first time out. Teammate Sam Masters finishing just behind him across the line in that one. And the Oxford riders are at the start line for heat 6. We are awaiting Anders Rowe. Could be an interesting one because he was impressive first time out. And a quick turnaround for Paul Starke, who will go in yellow. 2 rides on the trot for the Poole Pirates. Will Cairns House have 3 rides so far, but we'll need to have a 4th ride somewhere in the meeting when you operate rider replacement for your number 5 in the averages. That means that both reserves are going to have 4 rides. But of course, team manager Middleditch has the option to switch them around as and when he chooses. And heat 6 is sponsored by the Real Mini Company, with Anders Rowe in white off the inside, Sam Masters in red off gate 2, Paul Starke in yellow off gate 3, and Jacob Hook in blue I should say, off the outside. 12-17, Poole 5 points in front, and their only setback so far was the 3-2 concession in heat 2, but that was certainly could have been more as far as Oxford were concerned, until Jonas KNUDSEN lifted on the second bend. But the next 3 heats really have been all Poole, with a 5-1, a 4-2 and an emphatic heat 4 win for Anders Rowe. So the inside gate here on Sam Masters, with Paul Starke off 3 and Jacob Hook on the outside. Poole then leads by 17.12. Here we go with 8-6 lights on the way they go, and Rowe and Masters contest the first bend, and Masters just gets there in front, but crucially Paul Starke's ungated Jacob Hook. Hook trying to go around the outside here into the third bend. That's going to get very tight indeed, and the Poole Pirates close ranks combine to squeeze out Jacob Hook, but he'll still back to the way off against Anders Rowe and Paul Starke. So Sam Masters in with the advantage. Anders Rowe here trying to pick up drives around his teammate. He's done just that on the second lap. I think he fancies going off and trying to catch Sam Masters, but I can't see him doing that from there, and Jacob Hook is buzzing around trying to get the veteran Paul Starke in the race for third place. Sam Masters here with the advantage. Second place is Anders Rowe, and Hook is going wide again off the second bend, looking to catch up with Paul Starke, who holds that third place, but Jacob Hook is right there with 1 lap to go. Might send one down the inside, just thought better of that. Masters race leads, Rowe in second place, it's Starke in third, and the line certainly is better on the outside. Hook is still there at the back trying to make his way through, but I don't think he'll do it from there. Masters with the win. Second place goes, that's close on the line in fact. Well, Paul Starke seemed to ease off very early indeed. Second place goes to Anders Rowe. But let's watch this finish again here. Jacob Hook on the inside, keeps the throttle wound up. Paul Starke looks the wrong way. And at the line, I think that's still just Paul Starke, but he might be somewhat fortunate because he certainly looked right, and Jacob Hook was coming left. So we'll just await official confirmation of that one. It was certainly a win for Sam Masters, and certainly a second place for Anders Rowe. And I would suspect that the referee is also going to check that out. We're going to show it again here. Try and slow it for you. So top two absolutely clear. Paul Starke takes that look. That's the mistake. He thinks he's safe, but it's actually Hook with the turn back, lifting, and the run to the line. My impression is yellow just has that. So it was certainly a close call, and we will await the announcer, the referee's verdict, and the announcer to confirm that. Dave Hammond, everyone in the pits is also waiting for the official news here. Peter Schroeck there, and Mike Hunt, they're all standing by out there. Never has the announcer's words seemed more eagerly anticipated here after that close finish. I suspect that Peter Schroeck's going to be disappointed in just a moment, because after a good effort by his guest there to snatch a point off Paul Starke, it did look like the rider in yellow was just about held on. So the rider's being held ahead of Heat 7 here. Result now being confirmed. So Sam Masters the winner. Anders Rowe confirmed second, and Paul Starke confirmed in yellow, which the home crowd aren't terribly happy with, and Jacob Hook just looking over there. So there's the confirmed result, and that would appear to be, from the replays that we saw, that Paul Starke did just hang on. So Masters with the win, second place Anders Rowe, third place Paul Starke, Jacob Hook at the back. It's a shared heat, and it means that with 6 heats gone, it's Oxford 15, Poole 20. And riders are straight back round for Heat 7, and this will feature Cam Heeps and Luke Killeen against Lewis Kerr and Zach Cook. There is Zach Cook. This is a really powerful combination, it should be, in the middle order. I know there's been some talk about Louis Kerr up and down form so far this season for Poole, maybe not quite the out-and-out heat leader they were expecting from him, but and Zach Cook indeed himself on occasions has been quite quiet in the middle order, but they have the chance to have that because of how well Anders Rowe has gone. Heat 7 is sponsored by Endley & Son Leadwork Specialists, and Cameron Heeps goes in red off the inside gate. Louis Kerr goes in white off gate 2. Luke Killeen in blue off gate 3, and Zach Cook in yellow off the outside. And Oxford urgently need some fast starts here. Poole seems to have got the first two turns very much mapped out here tonight so far. The mantra from Neil Middleditch is always avoid last places. Well, you can't do too much about retirement, so he's had a couple of those. And Paul Starke in future may choose to look over both shoulders before he eases off on the finish line. But he got the point in the end in Heat 6. And his side are 5 points in front. At the start line for Heat 7. 45 seconds to go on the clock, so the Poole riders taking their time to get their starting gates prepared. Start marshal trying to get them in line. It will be Cameron Heeps in red off the inside. Louis Kerr in white off gate 2. But the start marshal not happy with Louis Kerr's starting position. Killeen off 3 and Cook off the outside. Looks like Kerr is in a decent spot now. Here we go for Heat 7. Away they go, and start by Cameron Heeps off the inside gate. Now can he move his man out, and round the outside in blue comes Luke Killeen, bursting through is Zach Cook. That's some move in yellow by Cook to hit the front. His teammate Kerr has gone to the back. Killeen flings into beds 3 and 4, trying to hit back at Cook, but Cook here with the advantage. Killeen in second place, third is Heeps with Kerr out the back. That was decent stuff there on the first two turns, and Zach Cook really came from nowhere off the second bend to shoot the gap and get in between. For a split second, it looked like the Cheetahs might have a 5-1 situation going. As it is, they could lose a 4-2 because Lily Kerr is down the inside of Cameron Heeps and moves him over on the first 2 turns, and Heeps will try and make it back around the outside. Good scrap for third place, but Kerr runs Heeps right out to the fence on turn 2 and gets that place. Heeps trying to fight back on turns 3 and 4. Luke Killeen looks over his shoulder, knows them. Kerr is now in third place, and more points dropped here for the Cheetahs in Heat 7. It's Zach Cook with the advantage, moving away from Luke Killeen in second place, but Kerr has come for the third over Cameron Heeps. Round the final bend they come for a 4-2 for the Poole Pirates. Zach Cook with the win. Second place for Luke Killeen. Third is Louis Kerr. Cameron Heeps to the back, and this number 5 spot for Oxford is turning into a real concern as the season goes on. It doesn't seem to matter who goes there, they don't get the points they want from that position. But what a great ride there on the first 2 turns by the Poole Pirates captain Zach Cook. That was tremendous stuff. Really spotted the gap at the right time, made his move, and the bike fired him through, and Zach Cook gets his second win of the meeting there in Heat 7 and puts his side into a 7-point lead. And they are looking pretty strong here at Cowley tonight. Zach Cook with the race victory. Second place, Luke Killeen. Third, Louis Kerr for a 4-2, and that makes it Oxford 17, Poole 24, and the Pirates ever further ahead on aggregate. Well, let's watch out for what Zach Cook did here off the outside in yellow in Heat 7. We will see that very, very shortly indeed for you. 17-24 the scoreline, and here it is from the start once again. Zach Cook off the outside gate. It's definitely a good start by Cameron Heeps off the inside. He's outgated Kerr, red and white. Cook is last there. He's last by some distance, but the gap opens up for him, and boy does he take it, going through on the inside, past his teammate, in between the 2 Oxford riders. Killeen, I think someone surprised by that, trying to hit back on the outside. But look at how far behind Louis Kerr is there, behind Cameron Heeps, and yet by the end of lap 3, he was through on the inside to take what could be an important third place for his side, and that'll be a really frustrating one as far as the Cheetahs are concerned. They find themselves 7 points down after 7 races, and Poole have had the better of things really ever since the 3-2 in Heat 2 with several race advantages. So a 7-point lead for the Pirates, 24 over 17 with 7 hits gone. Let's head back down to the pits and join Laura.
Thank you so much, Dave. I'm joined by skipper Sam Masters. Slightly behind on the evening for the Cheetahs, but it's still within reaching distance.
Yeah, the track's definitely not suiting us at all, to be honest. It was pretty overwatered at the start, which I think Poole has been like that down there for the last few weeks. So we didn't want that, but anyway, we're battling away. We are behind, so hopefully we can start to pull a few points back, and hopefully the track starts to settle down and suits us a little bit more.
Yeah, we saw Heat 1 looked a little bit tricky. We saw you go a little bit wide coming out of the second bend. For like viewers at home and people who might not understand it quite so much, what on a track would cause that to happen?
I thought when I was riding around, I thought it'd been raining all day, but it's a lovely day. So yeah, just too much water really, and I understand it's summer and they need to try and get some water in it, but yeah, just a little bit too much to start with, and caught me out a big time. I was flapping around like a flag in the first race, but the next one was a little bit better, but yeah, like I said, hopefully it settles down and will suit us a little bit more at the end, and we need to pull some points back. Yeah,
for sure. Cheetahs aren't going to make the playoffs, but we're still in 2 other competitions. So as the skipper of the team, how do you keep spirits high in the camp?
You know, like we've got all the chance in the world to get a trophy this year, and we have the team that I think can do it. So yeah, hopefully we can, find some good setup here now and take that on to the playoffs, and then try and pick up something on the road when we go to any other away track. So yeah, like I said, we've got the team to do it, and we're going to have fun doing it anyway.
That's what it's all about, isn't it? Thank you so much. I'll let you get back to your pit bay. And when Sam talks about the track being slightly damper than usual for Heat 1, I can confirm he did look like he spent the best part of 20 minutes cleaning himself down when he came in after the first race. But normal service resumed on his second outing. I will hand you back up to Dave.
Thank you, Laura. Yes, track preparation not an exact science, and today is nowhere near as hot as it was on Sunday, and the meeting is starting an hour and a half later than on Sunday. In fact, earlier on today, for the first half of the day, it was positively autumnal, but it did go quite warm in the afternoon, and as I say, not an exact science in terms of how much to water and when to water, and there will certainly been the nights before this summer, when probably the equivalent amount of water on the track wouldn't have had anything like the effect it had this evening. It has had an effect this evening. I recall a meeting that I went to at Birmingham earlier this season where a similar sort of situation, but actually even worse. They did a great deal of watering at 7 o'clock, and so much so the meeting had to be delayed by 15 minutes because it suddenly didn't dry as much as expected, and the riders were most unhappy. Well, this one did go off on time, but it did play a part in the early races, no question about that. And like Sam Masters has been saying there, hopefully Oxford are hoping that the track comes back more to what they're used to as the meeting goes on. Certainly you cannot argue with the efforts of Zach Cook in Heat 7 with a really brilliant ride there off the second bend. When you look at how far back he was, mid-bends 1 and 2, and it takes some skill to recognise the opportunity opening up, and then to have the mechanical setup and the skill to take it. Exactly what Zach Cook did. It was a tremendous ride there to win it, and a battling ride by Louis Kerr in third place to come past Cameron Heeps. It makes it 24-17, and it means that Peter Schroeck has to be thinking about when and where to use Sam Masters for a tack sub ride. That's the obvious move. It's just a question of where he would plan to do that with that 7-point deficit. And we look down his list of 7 riders, and the top scorer so far for Oxford is Luke Killeen with 5 points from 2 rides, and Sam Masters has got 4 paid 5 from 2. Anders Rowe and Richard Lawson having a chat there in the pits. And there you see them in the Pirates pits now, just comparing notes. Anders Rowe knows he's not out for a few minutes, so he's got the Kevlar strip down. Richard Lawson, as with Sam Masters, a rider who you absolutely want to have in your team, reliable there week in, week out, scoring the points. 2 of the real experienced statesmen of UK Speedway doing their jobs for their clubs. There is the aforementioned Zach Cook making the mechanical adjustments. Really good ride by him to win Heat 7. And now we look out around the Bet Goodwin Oxford Stadium, which is certainly in a very busy period of staging Speedway at the moment at all 3 levels, with some 5 home meetings here in less than 2 weeks, and a busy bank holiday weekend coming up, because the Chargers here on Sunday up against the Steelers, the Sheffield Scunthorpe combination on Sunday afternoon, and then Kings Lynn here in the Rowe Motor Oil Premiership in a televised fixture on Monday night, where of course that's the return of last Monday's fixture, which was won emphatically by Kings Lynn. So that meeting is to come on Monday, and there's also a home Premiership fixture to come against Leicester before the end of the regular league campaign at the top level. Here come the riders for Heat 8. No great surprise that Louis Kerr is taking the rider replacement ride here for the Poole Pirates in the white helmet colour. It'll be off the outside gate. It will be a 4th ride for Will Cairns, who'll go in yellow. And can the Cheetahs do something here against Kerr on the outside gate? Heat 8 sponsored by Abingdon Beds, and Jonas KNUDSEN rides in blue off the inside. Will Cairns in yellow off gate 2, Jacob Hook in blue off gate 3, Louis Kerr in white off the outside. So far, so solid for the Poole Pirates. Lawson unbeaten with 6 from 2, Cook unbeaten with 6 from 2, Rowe with 5 from 2, Kerr with 3 paid 4 from 2, and points from reserve. 2 paid 3 from Paul Starke, 2 from Will Cairns. Absolutely what Poole would have wanted so far. The lead by 24 points to 17 at the halfway stage of the meeting. 40 seconds to go on the clock ahead of Heat 8. Plenty of work being done on the inside gate here by Jonas KNUDSEN, and indeed by Will Cairns alongside him. Looked like Jacob Hook and Louis Kerr are happy enough in gates 3 and 4, so the start marshal will bring them into line. So on we go to Heat 8. 17 to Oxford, 24 to Poole. KNUDSEN off the inside, Cairns off gate 2, Hook off gate 3, Kerr off the outside, green light and away. Oxford make a good start, Jonas KNUDSEN gets us on, Hook goes there too. Kerr is brave around the outside though on the second bend, and Louis Kerr makes it all the way around the outside from 3rd to 1st off turn 2. They've got that corner really nailed of Poole, and Louis Kerr has the advantage here over Jonas KNUDSEN with Jacob Hook in 3rd place and Will Cairns at the back, and Louis Kerr doing just the job that the Poole Pirates require In Heat 8 was the rider replacement for Tobias Thompson. Had a tough time off gate 4, but bravely round the boards on turns 1 and 2. He leads on to his third lap. It's Kerr who leads, from KNUDSEN chasing hard in second spot. Jacob Book in third with Will Cairns out the back. 3-3 situation is maintained round the third and fourth bends for the third time. Still Louis Kerr onto his final lap, looking for his first race win on the meeting. Got Haywood, of course, in Heat 3 when he teamed up with Zach Cook for the race that took Poole in front for the first time, and they're going to maintain their 7-point lead here in Heat 7 with a win for Louis Kerr in white. Kerr takes it over Jonas KNUDSEN in second place, Jacob Hook in third, with Will Cairns at the back, and the 7-point lead maintained. It looked quite promising for Oxford from the gate there in Heat 8, from gates 1 and 3. But Kerr got himself onto the fast line. You can see the determination on turns 1 and 2 to make it round there and make that race victory, that race lead his. And that's just what he did in that one for a shared heat. And the confirmation is that Louis Kerr is the race winner in white, second in blue Jonas KNUDSEN, third in red Jacob Hook. Will Cairns not scoring at the back there, so a shared heat. And with 8 heats gone, it's Oxford 20, Poole 27. Look at the replay here from Louis Kerr on the outside. Jacob Hook just inside in there in red. Great start by KNUDSEN off the inside, but Kerr just again gets himself on that line. Crucial line to have at this stage, and Poole have been finding it earlier than Oxford in these races. That's what's been going on really since about Heat 3. And Oxford are going to make their move in Heat 9, with Sam Masters replacing Mitch McDIARMID. That's a tactical sub here coming up, with Sam Masters coming in for Jordan Jenkins. So Peter Schroeck, 7 points down, has to make his move. And he goes in here against Anders Rowe and Paul Starke. Of course, he's got Sam Masters in Heat 10 anyway. Sam Masters is the only rider you'd want to do a tack sub here in this meeting. So waiting for Heat 11 when you be against Lawson, that would be quite potentially leaving it too late. So McDIARMID gets pulled out, as he was in fact to Glasgow at the weekend. And Heat 9, sponsored by SD Timo Car Sales Limited, the Oxford Cheetahs main sponsors, with Sam Masters on the tack sub in blue off the inside. Anders Rowe in white off gate 2. Jordan Jenkins in red off gate 3. And Paul Starke in yellow off the outside. Oxford urgently need big points here out of Heat 9. It won't be easy because Anders Rowe has shown the pace he has. He did drop a point to Sam Masters in Heat 6. And it's actually roles reversed here, because in Heat 6 Anders Rowe was off the inside and Sam Masters was off gate 2. Well, in this race they are the other way around. Sam Masters inside, Anders Rowe gate 2, with Jordan Jenkins off 3 and Paul Starke off the outside. $20 points to 27, and it's already getting to crunch time as far as the Oxford Cheetahs are concerned. Certainly when the tack sub is in play, you've got to look to get an advantage. Anders Rowe being called for tape there in gate 2. Masters inside, Rowe gate 2, Jenkins gate 3, Starke off the outside. Masters gets the start there over Rowe into the first bend. Now what can Jenkins do? Masters swings out wide and tangles up there, hooks up awkwardly with Paul Starke. Masters just about stays on the bike. Starke is down. The Masters moved out there to cover off the run from the outside, and Paul Starke was in the back of him at that stage. It's Paul Starke who's taken the more awkward fall there. Sam Masters didn't fall at all. He made contact with the fence, but didn't come down. They'd hooked up and tangled. So we'll await the verdict from the referee, which I would imagine will be all 4 back. And let's hope that Paul Starke is not injured. The Pirates mechanics and crew coming out to have a check on him, and looks like hopefully there's no injury. Certainly Sam Masters is okay. You can see him there heading back to his machine. He was on the inside and Paul Starke was on the outside, but they managed to tangle up on the exit of bend 2, or rather mid-bend. Masters had certainly got the start over Anders Rowe, but he moved out, I think, because he wanted to get on that line quickly. I think they know that if they're on the inside, as Paul Starke walks away, that's good to see. So hopefully he can take his place in the rerun. Midlow and Danny Ford there with him. But that was a case, I think, of Masters wanting to come across to dominate the line, and Paul Starke was behind him at that stage. So see the replay going on here with Masters making the start. Starke on the outside. Very unusual incident. So it's a not sort of incident you expect to see. Starke going into the back of Masters, who would come across the track from the inside. Thankfully, no harm done as far as injuries are concerned. All 4 riders is the verdicts from the referee. Greeted with howls of derision from the Oxford crowd below me, who are probably of the view that Paul Starke fell by himself. There's absolutely no doubt that the reason why Paul Starke fell was because Sam Masters had made that somewhat violent move across the track to the outside. That was a perfectly legitimate move for Sam Masters because he made the gate. So you'll see it again here. Masters makes it clearly over Anders Rowe. That's the first job done. Rowe's turning back. Masters has gone for the fast line, and he would have needed that fast line too, the way Rowe was turning back. And of course, Paul Starke was kind of there. Ended up going to the back of him. I can see where the referees come from with that. I think that's a fair enough call to put all 4 back in there. Obviously, decisions are always going to divide opinion. The Oxford crowd aren't happy because it's the Poole rider who went down, and they feel that he should go. And there's probably some Poole fans who think that Sam Masters took out Paul Starke. So it's whichever way you look at it, and I think in that situation the referee does have the option of doing what he did there, and that's what he did. What you can see is the outside has been the best place for race wins so far. 3 wins from gate 4, 3 wins from gate 3, 1 apiece from gates 1 and 2. And we heard Sam Masters talking about the track conditions being somewhat different to usual, and I think that was a case there of a senior rider there reading the conditions and knowing where he wanted to be, which is, and we can see it clearly as we look out on the track. There is a very defined change of texture, change of surface about midway round, and if you put your bike just on that line, that's going to be the fast line, and that's what we've seen so far from people like Kerr and Zach Cook. You get yourself in the grip just from mid-track and beyond. That's where you want to be, and I fancy that Sam Masters there, had there not been the contact with Paul Starke, may well have got it done. He made the gate on Rowe, but wasn't happy to sit on the inside and get overtaken. So he went for the bolder move, if you like, of going for the grip. And Paul Starke was already on that line. Referee will give Paul a bit of extra time here with the machine of Paul Starke for this rerun. You can see Anders Rowe there, just about to get the white helmet on. And Richard Lawson involved also in the mechanical work taking place. So Anders Rowe is good to go, making his way out towards the track entrance. Not too much going on there in the Oxford pits mechanical wise as Masters puts the blue helmet back on. Anders Rowe, 7.86 average. And the signs were there, I think, in the back half of last season, that was a distinct possibility, and something that Poole certainly read when they made their team building moves over the winter. Oxford riders having a chat. Jordan Jenkins and Sam Masters. Because of course Jenkins has got an important part to play here in gate 3. And he's going to want to know what Masters' intentions are on the first turn. Really, they need to be trying to get a 5-1 here in Heat 9. It may not be enough just for Masters to beat Rowe here. They need Jenkins in the race too. certainly the fact there was clearly this desire to strike to hit the grip mid-track. There's a good indication of what I'm talking about, the track, and you see the two distinct surfaces there. It's very similar on turns 1 and 2. If you put the bike just right on that very edge of the dirt line, that's what's providing the fast line, and that's absolutely crucial on the first lap because it's getting riders away, and it's something that Poole have largely done better than Oxford so far here this evening. Jordan Jenkins at the start line, 2 points from 2 rides so far. His teammate Sam Masters joining him on the inside gate for this second attempt to run Heat 9. Wouldn't be an Oxford Poole meeting without some kind of drama. And we go again with Heat 9, sponsored by SD Timo Car Sales, with Sam Masters in blue off the inside, Anders Rowe in white off gate 2, Jordan Jenkins in red off gate 3, and Paul Starke in yellow off the outside. Reminder of the score, 20-27 there in the bottom left hand corner of the screen, in that 13-point advantage for the Poole Pirates. The aggregate point certainly, as things stand, heading its way back to Wimborne Road as Poole try and finish their campaign, setting a target for the Glasgow Tigers. Can they get themselves up to 31 points and force Glasgow to score 32 or 31 with a big race points difference advantage? Sam Masters looking for the best place to start here from the inside gate. Is he going to go right for the end? Yes, he is. He's going to go right on the inside there, right on the, I was going to say white line. There's not much of a white line there, but going to start basically, and now he's changed his mind. And now going closer to gate 2. So finally line for the restart of Heat 9. Sam Masters in blue off the inside. Anders Rowe gate 2, gate 3, Jordan Jenkins, gate 4, Paul Starke. Heat 9 gets into where again, Masters gets the gate and Jenkins gets the gate, and Masters this time does pin the inside, and Paul Starke gets to run round the outside this time and relegates Jordan Jenkins to the back. That's the place you've got to be unless you did what Sam Masters did. Starke going wide again off bend 4, and Poole have got what they want here. Yes, Sam Masters is right out in front for the Cheetahs, but Jordan Jenkins to the back is bad news for Oxford. It's Masters with the lead. Now Rowe goes second around the outside of his teammate, and Jenkins needs to produce something here. He's looking for the inside here off the fourth turn. Paul Starke in third place, and Oxford so badly need a race advantage here. It's Masters with the lead. It's Rowe in second. That's pretty much sorted out. Race on for third with Paul Starke over Jordan Jenkins with just over a lap to go. And again, Paul Starke has that third place for the Pirates. I don't think there's too much here that Jordan Jenkins can do about it. Masters leads. Rowe is second. Jenkins is third, Starke is third, Jenkins is at the back. They come round turns 3 and 4 for the final time. The tax sub does win with Sam Masters, but second and third for the Poole Pirates, for Anders Rowe and Paul Starke, with Jordan Jenkins at the back, and that's not what Oxford wanted when playing the tax sub. They do get the race victory, and that time it was noticeable that Masters pinned the inside after making the start, so he made it work there from gate 1 right round the inside. But his teammate Jordan Jenkins lost out because Paul Starke burst around the field on turn 2, and that was enough for him to be able to maintain third place. Another important third place, paid second place there for Paul Starke in Heat 9 behind his teammate Anders Rowe. It's a win for Sam Masters in blue for the Cheetahs. Second place Anders Rowe, third Paul Starke, and Jordan Jenkins at the back. And 7 points is still the gap with 9 heats gone. Oxford 23, Poole 30. So change of tactics here by Sam Masters off the inside in blue. He goes right for the inside, holds back Anders Rowe, who'd also tried the cutback, but Starke in yellow gets that slingshot off the second bend, takes him past Jenkins, and then they run neck and neck into the third and fourth bend. Starke again wide off the turn, nice little line off the corner. Rowe goes round him on the second lap, but for the Cheetahs, Jordan Jenkins unable to get himself back into contention. So as Jacob Hook sits on the bike ahead of Heat 10, with the time being allowed for Sam Masters taking 2 right on the trot. He'll be going off gate 3 this time against the tough opponents of Kerr and Cook. who have both won races so far for Poole this evening. It's a strong display so far. Neil Middleditch here having a word with Will Cairns. So that was interesting. So is he telling Cairns he wants him in somewhere else? Because he could run Paul Starke in heats 11, 12 and 14 to give him 7 rides. But he may judge that's not really required tonight, or it's a lot of strain on man and machine to take 7 outings and some of them in such quick succession. So he may be telling Will Cairns that he wants him in one of these races, and maybe even hit 11 when he would be confident enough that Richard Lawson can deal with it. So we'll have to see. Well, certainly appeared to be an indication from the Poole Pirates team manager to his junior reserve, if you like, to make sure he's still ready and switched on for later on. Louis Kerr there in the white helmet colour. Astride the bike, talking with his teammate and captain Zach Cook. See Jordan Jenkins in the background there on the phone, probably sending back some technical details of what has or hasn't been working so far. 2-minute warnings on for heat 10. Poole lead by 7 points. Zach Cook coming around the 3rd and 4th bend. So far unbeaten. Jacob Hook going inside him, and Louis Kerr there in white off the outside gate. So we're waiting for the Oxford skipper Sam Masters to join us at the start line. I can tell you he's just walking out of the pits now with still well over a minute and a half to go. So Kerr with 6 paid 7 from his 3 rides. And Sam Masters is now on track. So heat 10, which is sponsored by County Plumbing Supplies, and Jacob Hook rides in blue off the inside for the Oxford Cheetahs. Zach Cook in yellow off gate 2 for the Pirates. Sam Masters red off gate 3 for the Cheetahs, and Louis Kerr in white off the outside for the Poole Pirates, who race at home to Glasgow next Wednesday, in the first leg of their Maxi Cab Knockout Cup semi-final. They will certainly require a lead from that meeting based on Glasgow's home form in recent weeks, but Glasgow's away form at Poole is not good. So that's a really fascinating semi-final, and probably good news for Oxford and Redcar that they will take the view that at least one of Poole or Glasgow will be wiped out in the semi-final. Oxford have their own home semi-final against Redcar to come in the Cup in September on the 10th. And they'll need their team firing more than they are so far here. Jacob Hook in blue off the inside here for Oxford. Zach Cook in yellow off gate 2. Sam Masters red off gate 3. And Louis Kerr white on the outside. All ready for 8 to 10. And 3 nice away they go. And Zach Cook and Sam Masters into the first bend. Masters quickly round the outside to lead. And Jacob Hook holds the inside. And Jacob Hook goes second here as Louis Kerr lifts on the back straight. And Oxford for the first time tonight, really, have got 1 and 2. And Jacob Hook has that second place here over Zach Cook. It's Masters with the lead. Hook in second place, Cook in third, and Kerr at the back. It's a surprise here with this strong Pirates 3-4 combination, conceding a 5-1 as things stand. It's Sam Masters with the advantage. Jacob Hook, who rode so well here on Sunday for Workington, in second place with a really smart move on the first 2 turns to hold the inside and find that line as Zach Cook lost out and Louis Kerr lifted. This is just what Oxford need to get them back into the meeting in heat 10. Masters dominating out in front. Jacob Hook, a great ride so far in second. Zach Cook still chasing hard in third. Can he make a passing move on the last lap? Still being covered off by Hook for now. Masters with the lead. Hook in second place. Third is Zach Cook. Louis Kerr coming to a stop at the back or slowing down. Big 5-1 to Oxford then in heat 10 with Sam Masters and Jacob Hook over Zach Cook in third place and Louis Kerr rolling home at the back. And Oxford, for the first time tonight, get a big advantage in their favour. Sam Masters dominant there from gate 3 on the opening lap, but what a good first 2 turns by Jacob Hook, who rode well here on Sunday for Workington and has got Oxford back in the meeting here with a 5-1 to cut the gap down to 3 points. There's no doubt Jacob Hook has made real progress this season in the UK, and he can be happy with 5 paid 7 as a guest here tonight from his 4 rides. The Oxford skipper doing everything he can for his team, winning for the third successive race for him. They get the 5-1 in Heat 10. Sam Masters, the race winner. Jacob Hook in second place. Zach Cook in third. Louis Kerr out the back. Big 5-1 to Oxford. It's now Oxford 28, Poole 31. So how did Jacob Hook make the inside work here? Well, Sam Masters from gate 3 making a decent start along with Zach Cook into the first bend. Jacob Hook gets there and really white lines it to get the better of Cook, and Kerr just lifts as he's trying to make that move around the outside. And very well done by Jacob Hook to get that paid win in Heat 10. Cameron Heeps coming into line for Heat 11. This is an important one. It will be Will Cairns taking the rider replacement outing for the Pirates. So that's what team manager Midlow was talking about prior to that race we just saw. They do have the comforting presence of Richard Lawson there off the inside gate, who has won both his rides so far and must be favourite here for Heat 11. So what can Luke Killeen do here from the outside? Because certainly won't be scared to stick it out in the dirt if he makes a half-decent start. So Heat 11 sponsored by Smith's Bletchington with Richard Lawson in white off the inside, Cameron Heeps in red off gate 2, Will Cairns yellow off gate 3, and Luke Killeen in blue off the outside. What Oxford really need is for Heeps to outgate Lawson and clamp him on the first two turns, and that would give Killeen the run around the outside. We know that Killeen's got the speed, and he's certainly gaining in control as well this season. Beaten some good riders around here. Richard Lawson would certainly be on the list of good riders. But, a job on here for the Poole captain, with young colleague on gate 3, and the lead down to 3 points after that 5-1 in Heat 10, somewhat unexpectedly. So Lawson taking all the time he wants and needs to prepare that spot with 25 seconds to go on the clock, and he'll give it 10 more seconds if he wants to here before he gets back on the bike. Now he's back on it, and the Poole Pirates captain with a job to do for his team in Heat 11. Lawson on the inside, Heeps on gate 2, Cairns on gate 3, Killeen on the outside. Green light on for Heat 11, gets underway, and Heeps does outgate Lawson, but Lawson drives to the bend and takes him on. Killeen does go for the big blast on the outside, and Killeen makes it there, does he? Stunning stuff from Luke Killeen, somehow hangs onto the bike and makes that big blast around the outside work. Now Lawson will try and hit back on the inside, but Killeen charging off in front. Lawson in second place, Heeps in third with Cairns out the back. Inspirational stuff there by Luke Killeen, who stuck it in the dirt and just kept on going, and now Lawson will try and hit back. Killeen's gone back for the inside here. Now he was done that way a couple of weeks ago here around this circuit, and Lawson might just have gone around him here. Yes, he has. Lawson's got round Killeen, and Killeen will be so frustrated. He's now gone back to the outside to chase once again. Brilliant racing. Richard Lawson with the advantage, Luke Killeen in second place, Cameron Heeps in third with Will Cairns at the back, but now the Poole number 1 has control of Heat 11, and Killeen did some brilliant work there on the first 2 laps to use the outside. I think he had to stay there, that was the way to win the race. He turned back for the inside, and Lawson was right there to go around him, and Lawson takes it in Heat 11 from Luke Killeen second. Third place Cameron Heeps with Will Cairns at the back. Best action so far of their meeting, and the Poole number 1 gets the job done in Heat 11. Fabulous brave ride by Luke Killeen on turns 1 and 2, and had he, or could he have stuck it out there for all 4 laps? Well, as soon as he went back for the inside, Richard Lawson was right there to go around him on the 3rd and 4th turn and complete it on bends 1 and 2. Good stuff there in Heat 11. And Killeen certainly giving Lawson something to fight for in an all-action race. And the Poole number 1 takes the race victory. Lawson with the win. Second was Luke Killeen. Third was Cameron Heeps with Will Cairns at the back. And with 11 heats gone, it's Oxford 31, Poole 34, and Poole also lead by 9 on aggregate. Let's take a look at this again. And I mentioned before the race that we could see some bravery from Luke Killeen around the outside, and that's just what we got. Heeps outgates Lawson, but Lawson still beats Heeps into the bend. And look at this from Killeen. He so nearly buries himself in the fence on turn 2, but just about controls it and holds that dirt line around turns 3 and 4. And at this point, he looks like he has the speed. Lawson will follow him round on lap 2, tries the inside. That's not working for Lawson. So Killeen has it there, but then he goes back for the inside. And this happened in a race, I think it was in the Premiership, which against Sheffield a couple of weeks ago. Similar sort of situation. And Lawson took the outside. Brave move by the Poole man. And the best racing so far of the meeting. So 11 heats gone here at Cowley. It is Oxford 31, Poole 34. Let's join Laura in the pits.
Thank you so much, Dave. And yeah, you've done a lot of talking about this man from his last heat. So we're going to make our way into his pit bay and see if we can grab Luke Killeen. I think you got described as bravery by the commentary team, spectacular by other people. I personally would go with terrifying. You were that wide coming out of the second bend?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I didn't really want to go there, but there was plenty of dirt and I know I sort of had to, so I went for it, and yeah, by the time I tried to do it again on the fourth bend, my arms were dead, and I just had to try and ride the inside.
At the moment, you're in fine form. It seems maybe some of the cheaters are struggling in a minute, but yourself and Sam are really the powerhouse pairing in the team, and it must feel nice.
Yeah, I mean, personally, it's great. You know, I don't want to speak too soon because, yeah, hopefully I've got a couple more rides to go, or else I need a win. But I haven't had less than double figures at home, which, you know, I've been keeping that to myself, but it's something I'm very proud of. Less than double figures since the start of June, so yeah, I think I've been picking up some away form too, and yeah, I'm just feeling comfortable and really enjoying it.
We were at Glasgow over the weekend, and I heard your interview on BSN, and you mentioned something about your frames. For the people that don't know too much about the detail, what is that all about?
Yeah, they're different to the ones I was using. You know, I'd thanks to Mark Taylor and Diane Reeves, I'd got a new frame, which yeah, slightly different, and it suited me better. But yeah, I had a crash here against Sheffield. So yeah, no, I bent it there, and I only had the one at the time. So yeah, no, I mean, I've had to jump back to the old ones for now, but yeah, hopefully we can resolve that soon.
I can hear Pete calling you in from Team Talk, so I'll let you get away. Thank you so much. It's always so lovely to see a smiling face, and Luke really has come into some fine form. I'll hand you back to Dave for now, and then we'll make our way down to the Poole end of the pits and hopefully have another interview for you in a second.
Thank you, Laura. Yes, good to hear from Luke Killeen after a real battling effort there in Heat 11. Here's the Poole Pirates score chart so far, and you can see Richard Lawson has 9 points, a maximum, 3 rides and 3 wins, along with 7 points apiece from Zach Cook and Anders Rowe. Louis Kerr with 6+1, Zach Cook with 7, Anders Rowe with 7. Of course, Zach Cook was 5-1 along with Louis Kerr in his last outing, and those are important points from Paul Starke at number 6 with 3 paid 5 from 4 rides and several times beating Oxford riders along the way. So 34 points so far for the Poole Pirates and 31 for the Oxford Cheetahs, with Sam Masters taking 3 wins out of 4 with 10 paid 11 from 4 rides. Decent job being done by Jacob Hook as a guest with 5 paid 7. The middle order is where the problems have been. Certainly Jordan Jenkins and Mitch McDIARMID not making the impact they would have wanted. Cameron Heeps at number 5 suffered a 4-2 last place in Heat 7, a 4-2 concession. Luke Killeen, the battling stuff from him all the way, and Jonas KNUDSEN chipping in there at number 7 as well. Let us head back down to the pits and join Laura.
Thanks, Dave. I've gone from one end of the pits to the other, and I'm joined by Will Cairns. It's been a slightly tricky evening for you so far, and we saw you have a few mechanical gremlins in that first one. What was wrong with the bike?
Oh, just coming into the corner, like we have like a kill switch, and it just came out. Not really too sure what was going on there, but tricky to say the least, I think. Yeah, I'm having a bit of a mare.
But you're still smiling, and you're still sending it when you're out there.
Yeah, there's no point to being down in the dumps and, you know, kicking and punching things. But just hopefully I get another one and prove myself.
Yeah, for sure. And your arrival at Poole was like really anticipated with a lot of media coverage. At such a young age, you seem to have remained really calm with that. What an impact has that had on you?
Oh, I think I kind of strive off of it a little bit. You know, all the hype with me coming to Poole halfway through the season, and then like having to drop Darryl and everyone else. It is tough, and I just kind of take it in my stride and just trying to let it get to my head. But yeah, we're all human and we all have bad nights.
And at Poole, you're surrounded by not only a great management team, a lot of experience with the riders, and a really good fan base as well.
Oh, the fans there are something else. Like, they're ridiculous. So, yeah, the team, everyone, we're like a big family, and I feel like ever since I joined, you know, the first 2 meetings I was trying to just kind of finding my feet a little bit, but I definitely have been welcomed with open arms.
Thank you so much, Will. It's been really nice talking to you. I'll let you get back to camp. And it looks like the tractors are still going around, and we're halfway through our interval break here. I'll hand you back up to commentary.
Yes, indeed, and I think also there's going to be a Ben Fun collection here this evening as well, but the grading is taking place at the moment, and it's 34-31 in favour of the Poole Pirates, and certainly some good fight from Oxford in the last couple of races. The 5-1 from Sam Masters and Jacob Hook in Heat 10. That was a great effort by Hook to get the paid win ahead of Zach Cook and Louis Kerr, and Luke Killeen doing everything he could there in Heat 11. So I mentioned there was a race a few weeks ago here. Of course, it wasn't against Sheffield because that was the meeting he crashed out in, but he had a similar battle with senior rider and eventually just lost out around the outside. But there's no question the effort that you see from Luke Killeen week out around this circuit. So as the interval continues here at Cowley, we've got 4 big races to come. We still have a match on our hands here with the Poole Pirates at 3 points in front with 4 to go. The current score is Oxford 31, Poole 34. So back here at Bet Goodwin Oxford Stadium, it's 31-34 with the Poole Pirates in front. They're about to get underway with Heat 12. The track staff making their way back on, and the riders coming onto the circuit. There are decisions for Peter Schroeck to make here, because he has Luke Killeen with 7 points from 3 rides at reserve and clearly had the speed in Heat 11, so he has the option to give Killeen extra outings here. It would appear that's not the case in Heat 12, because both Jordan Jenkins and Jonas KNUDSEN making their way round at the moment, with Louis Kerr and Paul Starke being lined up for the Poole Pirates. So there is Jenkins, 31-34, 3 points the gap, and KNUDSEN will go off the outside gate here, waiting for Paul Starke. There he is standing just on the track, waiting for the bike to join him. They're on 2 minutes. 90 seconds of that just under to go. So Poole looked very comfortable at 30-23, especially when they saw off the Oxford Tactical Sub. Well, the Tactical Sub won the race in the restart, but it was the fact that Jenkins finished at the back that got the 3-3. But the 5-1-2 Oxford in Heat 10 made things interesting. And that dramatic Heat 11 which was shared, leaving us in the current situation. So Heat 12, and Colin Perkins is the sponsor, with Paul Starke in yellow off the inside for the Poole Pirates. Jordan Jenkins in red off gate 2, Louis Kerr in white off gate 3, and Jonas KNUDSEN in blue off the outside. So as the programme in Heat 12, and very important race here for Jordan Jenkins and Jonas KNUDSEN. Can they drag Oxford back closer? We'll see Masters v Lawson in Heat 13, and no doubt in 15. But do Oxford have enough? You bear in mind Heat 14. They will have Killeen in that race, but Mitch McDIARMID, who's struggled so far, will be having his 3rd ride. Heat 12 up the start line. Paul Starke off the inside. Jenkins, gate 2. Kerr off gate 3. And KNUDSEN off the outside. Green light and away. And a great start by Louis Kerr from gate 3. They've sandwiched out Jordan Jenkins. Round the outside goes Jonas KNUDSEN, trying to make it all the way there, and he has. And Jenkins has got 3rd place here over Starke, and Jenkins goes hard into bend 3, and he gets round the outside. Real determined stuff there by Jordan Jenkins to get round Louis Kerr. He made the Starke, and then Jenkins spins it and goes down, and Kerr goes down, and Starke trying to lay it down goes into Kerr, and we have carnage on turn 2, and Jordan Jenkins had done the hard work there to get round the outside on bend 4, but then he locked it completely mid-bend, turns 1 and 2 on the apex. Poole boys both up and okay, and that was quite a heavy crash, especially when Starke clattered into Kerr. So Jenkins is the rider now who's down, and that was pretty spectacular stuff there, and Jenkins had been pretty spectacular on the first lap. Both the Oxford riders fired up to make it round the outside. Great ride by KNUDSEN in the early stages off the second bend, and Jenkins then on turn 4 going round Kerr, and at that point it was job done. But unfortunately, then it all went wrong on the apex of 1 and 2, lap 2. Poole riders, I can tell you, are walking back in. They're both okay. Jordan Jenkins is receiving treatment from the medical staff. And the Oxford team manager, Peter Schroeck, is making his way around. So there is Paul Starke, who's been involved in a bit of drama here this evening, and that tangle with Sam Masters earlier on. And now the completely innocent victim there. I think he was trying to lay the bike down at the time. He actually ended up making contact with his teammate, but thankfully from their point of view no damage was done. But we are waiting here on Jordan Jenkins, who has been in the wars several times this season and has only just really come back. He was hoping to get back into the Ipswich team for their playoff chase in the Premiership. The medical staff are still down there at the moment. One thing which is semi-encouraging at the moment is there's no call for an ambulance at this stage. But he has had so many bumps and scrapes this season. There's any number of parts of his body that could be affected by what happened there. And after such a brave ride on the top turn, it's very unfortunate that things finished that way. Peter Schroeck chatting there with Sam Masters and Cameron Heeps. Sometimes it's one of those years when you lucks out. And he put his faith there, Schroeck, in Jenkins and KNUDSEN. They were getting the job done. They were on a 5-1 into lap 2 there. Jordan is still on the track with about 4 or 5 medical staff around him. There's not a huge, what I would call, panic activity around him, and they're just moving his legs at the moment, I can see. So he's clearly in conversation with the medical staff. And obviously we're all hoping that we're going to see him get to his feet, but they will take every precaution they can after a pretty frightening pile-up there in Heat 12. That's like a rider's worst nightmare, really, where you back it in, you end up with no speed, you end up absolutely pretty much stationary mid-track and with riders approaching rapidly. So that attention is continuing, but and there's a couple of Oxford riders down with Jordan Jenkins. But like I say, it's not. Although we're at the moment we're not showing you what's going on. Obviously, it's not. There is no ambulance on the track. It's medical staff with Jordan Jenkins being given encouragement by the home crowd. Very popular figure, of course, at Oxford. Can carry the rider and red is disqualified. That's a fairly obvious call for the referee, Phil Griffin, to make tonight. But we are hopefully going to see him walk away from it, but they will take care, and they're bringing around the buggy, in fact, at the moment. So it may well be that he's going to get the lift back in, and he is back on his feet. He's back on his feet, Jordan Jenkins. That's excellent news, and there he is going to get the ride back. You can see he's. I mean, it's probably a combination of pain and frustration and just absolute dejection for what happened there in Heat 12. Sam Masters and Cameron Heeps walking in behind him, behind the golf buggy. And well, just one incident that really sums up not just Oxford's night, but Oxford's campaign so far. They're on a 5-1, and then Jordan Jenkins coming to grief on lap 2. But after the treatment and attention, he is coming back in. So there's that brilliant move around the outside of Kerr. So Oxford on a 5-1 here into the second lap, and then he just He backs it in really early, spins it round, is clipped first of all by Kerr. Starke into Kerr. That's a heavy knock for Louis Kerr, so it's good to see that he's okay. And, well, the most important thing is they all walk away from that tangle in Heat 12. And the referee, I'm sure, again will be allowing the time required for the pool riders who were involved in the incident. Bikes are warming up in the pits, and you can see Jonas KNUDSEN, who was the rider who escaped there, escaped unscathed. He was went out in front, and now he's got an important job to do in the rerun to win it, to keep Oxford in contention. Let's take a look at it again here. Jordan Jenkins round the outside, and as they go into the second lap, he's turning early into the bend and just overlocks himself, and the wheel is clipped. I think he was going down anyway, but the wheel was clipped by Louis Kerr, which made it a much more spectacular incident. No doubt about the decision as far as the referee is concerned, Phil Griffin. I don't think there's anyone would have been arguing about that at all. I'm sure there'll be a bit of debate. There's Clark of the course, Mike Hunt, giving the thumbs up, so we shouldn't be too far away from a restart here of Heat 12. I think there will have been some debate about the incident in Heat 9, I should say, with Masters on the tack sub and Paul Starke when they tangled up on bend 2. I know there were Oxford fans thinking that Starke should have been disqualified, and there's probably Poole fans who think that Masters should have been disqualified. The point was that Masters was always in front, and had that incident happened, I think, during a racing situation on laps 2, 3 or 4, then the view would have been that Paul Starke had ridden into a closing gap. But because it was the second bend, first and second bend, then all 4 was certainly a legitimate call. And so here is Jonas KNUDSEN with the weight of the world, or something the weight of the Oxford Cheetahs on him here from the outside gate, and have to do it all over again on a track where certainly being bold on the outside on turns 1 and 2 has generally paid dividends. It was a tactic that Poole did recognise first here. Paul Starke in yellow off the inside gate. No rider off gate 2 with Jordan Jenkins disqualified. Louis Kerr in white off gate 3, and Jonas KNUDSEN goes in blue off the outside, and he really, really needs to win this race for Oxford to keep it at 3 points. You do wonder if Oxford will contemplate Killeen in Heat 13. Killeen definitely goes in 14 along with Mitch McDIARMID, and McDIARMID has to go in 14 with only 2 rides completed. Poole can bring in Starke for Cairns. We heard from Will Cairns earlier, hoping to get an extra ride here. I think that will depend on the match situation, which at the moment is still in the balance, but that incident there in Heat 12 first staging, whatever happens here, is a break for Poole in the air. But the good news is everyone's okay. Heat 12, the restart and start line. Away they go. Paul Starke off the inside, getting a minute to go, but mechanical trouble there for Louis Kerr, and round the outside goes Jonas KNUDSEN. So Louis Kerr now has got a big job to do. Can he limp the bike round? He's half a lap behind already, and KNUDSEN has the advantage. Second place is Paul Starke, and Kerr is kind of tootling round in third and may get home for a point here, because he's got, I think, enough power in the bike to get through. In fact, he seems to be moving okay now, so I wonder what went on there for Louis Kerr in the early stages. Jonas KNUDSEN gets the job done there against Paul Starke on turns 1 and 2, so he race leads. Kerr is in third, way behind, but got the point in the bag as long as he gets round safely. So they're all spread out over the track here at Cowley in Heat 12, and Jonas KNUDSEN doing exactly what he has to do here for Oxford to keep them in the meeting. 3 points down with 3 hits to go. Still a big ask for them, but he has the lead here over Paul Starke in second place. Kerr is in third, up to full power, so you do wonder exactly what happened there as they come to take the checkered flag. It's a win for Jonas KNUDSEN. It's second place Paul Starke, and Louis Kerr will now the race is over, is going to roll home in third place. There he is, but wonder whether in the panic of getting bikes repaired after the crash, was there a fueling issue there? I wonder, because he had nothing at all away from the start line. But Jonas KNUDSEN gets the win that Oxford needed him to get. celebrates on one wheel after that victory. Share of the spoils keeps the meeting still melting along nicely. Might even boil at some point. Jonas KNUDSEN with the race victory there in Heat 12. Second place was Paul Starke. Third was Louis Kerr, despite those issues that he faced. Jordan Jenkins disqualified. 3 apiece, and with 12 heats gone, Oxford 34, Poole 37. So away from the start line. Kerr drops the clutch okay, but by halfway to the first bend it's not going. There is a move down. I do wonder if that was a fueling situation there for Louis Kerr. Anyway, Jonas KNUDSEN rides that first lap very well indeed. And now a chat at the pits gate between Richard Lawson and Anders Rowe about their tactics from gates 2 and 4 in Heat 13 as Oxford send out Sam Masters and Cameron Heeps, who got the 5-1 for them against Workington on Sunday. But this time they face the unbeaten Richard Lawson, who'll be going off gate 2. Some interesting tactics here. We saw Masters off the inside gate on the tack sub-ride the first time he tried to move out on bend 2. That was when they had the tangle with Starke. The second time he pinned the inside and made it work. But we know what Lawson can do here. Can Heeps raise himself for a big ride here against Lawson and Rowe? 34-37. Poole are almost there as far as the aggregate point is concerned with that 9-point lead, and it's Sam Masters in red off the inside gate. Richard Lawson in white off gate 2. Cameron Heeps in blue off gate 3. Anders Rowe in yellow off the outside. Rowe has scored 7 from 3. Lawson unbeaten with 9. Masters with 10, paid 11, just beaten by Lawson in Heat 1. Cameron Heeps with 3, paid 4 from 3 rides. And of course, in recent years gone by, Oxford would have been sending out Scott Nichols with Sam Masters here, and that was so often good for them to get big points in Heats 13 and 15. It's been a different situation this season. Had to get more from reserve. They've scored at reserve tonight. Killeen with 7, KNUDSEN with 6, paid 7. Poole still have the advantage ahead of a big Heat 13. 34-37. Marston in red off the inside. Lawson in white off gate 2. Heeps in blue off gate 3. Rowe in yellow off the outside. Poole lead by 37 points to 34. Here we go with Heat 13. Away they go. And Masters quite clearly outgates Lawson into the first bend. Cameron Heeps has got with him. Cameron Heeps goes flying around the outside. And Lawson does get clamped by Masters off the second bend. And now what can Anders Rowe do up on turns 3 and 4? Because Cameron Heeps has got round the outside. He race leads with Sam Masters in second place. Lawson in third with Rowe out the back. Great job once again by Sam Masters to cover off the threat of Richard Lawson. And Cameron Heeps, just as on Sunday, gets himself raised for Heat 13. And with 2 laps complete, Oxford still on a 5-1 here. It's Cameron Heeps from Sam Masters in second place. Third is Richard Lawson. Look, he's had to drop his first point in the meeting. Anders Rowe at the back, and Oxford with 7 points down here tonight, looking pretty much down and out. But they're coming flying back here in Heat 13, and this is the second 5-1. Should it be the case in the space of 4 races, will edge them in front with 2 heats to go up the back straight for the final time. Cameron Heeps is there with Sam Masters running shotgun in second place, and Oxford take a huge 5-1 out of Heat 13. It's Cameron Heeps and Sam Masters over Richard Lawson in third place with Anders Rowe out the back. And would you believe it, Oxford turn things round and they lead by a point with 2 heats to go. Fabulous ride by Heeps there to do it from gate 3. Sam Masters controlled things in the early stages, and that was a brilliant 5-1 for the Oxford Cheetahs. I mentioned the Masters-Nichols combination of years gone by, but Cameron Heeps twice now in Heat 13 round Cowley in the last 4 days has come up with 5-1s with Sam Masters, and it gives the Cheetahs a narrow advantage here against the Pirates with 2 heats to go. Cameron Heeps winning Heat 13. Second place Sam Masters, third Richard Lawson, Anders Rowe out the back, and that 5-1 to the Cheetahs means after 13 heats it's Oxford 39, Poole 38. Well, from the start, Sam Masters with the outgating move on Lawson, and crucially covered him off when Lawson tried to turn back off the second bend. Heeps gets a really good one and deals with Rowe there on the way into the first bend. And as Lawson finds the way blocked by Masters, Heeps is clear to get round Masters. And Oxford are away for a 5-1 in Heat 13. And now we await what the team manager, well, the Poole team manager, I think is going to be the man who has the call to make. And there you see Paul Starke riding in yellow. Oxford will go unchanged here because Mitch McDIARMID has to have his third ride. Luke Killeen will go with him for what will be his fourth ride. And for the Pirates, it'll be Zach Cook and Paul Starke. So 39-38. As ever, very eventful when Oxford and Poole go head-to-head. Confirmation coming through about the change, which we can see on the screen. Riders onto the track. 5 points on the aggregate gap. So that's still there. Poole have been in apparent control with that throughout the evening. As I say, at 30-23, when Oxford had burned the tack sub, you couldn't really see this happening. But Marston involved in 2 5-1s, one with Hook in Heat 10, one with Heeps in Heat 13. Heat 14, sponsored by AW Mobs Building Supplies. Zach Cook in white off the inside. Luke Killeen in blue off gate 2. Paul Starke in yellow off gate 3. Mitch McDIARMID in red off the outside. Been a tough night for Mitch McDIARMID. Not beaten an opponent so far. Not ridden since Heat 5, which feels like it's about 2 hours ago. And this is going to be tough for him now. Can he do something off the outside gate? Poole will not want Zach Cook to be trapped on the inside there. Masters has shown it can be done from the inside on a couple of occasions so far tonight, but they have to watch out for the lively Luke Killeen. And of course Oxford do know that if they go into the last race in front, so a 3-3 here, then they do have Sam Masters and they have gate choice for Heat 15. And although Oxford can't make the playoffs this season, they would certainly take a bit of a confidence boost, I'm sure, from a home victory against the Poole Pirates. But there's still 8 crucial laps of racing to come before we get to that point. And you know, Poole just need one heat advantage. 4-2 to Poole, followed by a 3-3, and they would take it by a point. Heat 14 then at the start line. Zach Cook in white off the inside. Luke Killeen blue off gate 2. Paul Starke in yellow off gate 3. Mitch McDIARMID in red off the outside. Oxford lead by 1 point. Heat 14 at the start line. Away they go. Zach Cook makes a great start, and Paul Starke's gone there with him. Now what can McDIARMID do on the first 2 turns? Because Poole here have 1 and 2. McDIARMID's got round his teammate, but Poole still have the advantage here into the third bend. And McDIARMID goes square on turns 3 and 4. And now the chase on for Luke Killeen, but Poole are charging clear. Zach Cook just knows that Paul Starke is there. Lets him go round the outside, and it's all on Luke Killeen here on the second lap. Can he somehow find the speed to reel in Paul Starke and Zach Cook with just 2 laps to go? Killeen's got speed here. Zach Cook knows he's there. Zach Cook doing the covering job here with Paul Starke out in front. Zach Cook covers the inside line. Start back round him. So far a good team running job by the Poole captain, but Killeen will get closer, and you know Killeen will try that outside run. He's coming round Zach Cook here. Cook covering him off. Into the last lap they go. Still Paul Starke with the lead. Zach Cook in second place. Killeen in third. Starke gets a great run off the corner there. His teammate and captain in second place. One last bit here with Luke Killeen around turns 3 and 4 for the final time. It's a win for Paul Starke. Second Zach Cook. Third Luke Killeen. Mitch McDIARMID at the back. Brilliant ride by Zach Cook there. Sat with Paul Starke every inch of the way, and Paul Starke has been a real key man for the Pirates here this evening. He puts them 3 points in front once again, and Starke has come up with absolutely crucial points. 8 paid 10 at reserve, and that 5-1 in Heat 14 is a bit of a killer blow as far as Oxford are concerned, because it now means they need a 5-1 to hit back themselves in Heat 15. It could happen. They've got gate pick to come, and they got it in 13. But here's the result of 14. Paul Starke, the race winner. Second place, Zach Cook. Third, Luke Killeen. Mitch McDIARMID has had his toughest night, really, of the season here at the back, and that means that with 1 heat to go, the Pirates have confirmed the aggregate point. That's in the bag for them, and they lead on the night by 43 points to 40. Well, a frustrating one certainly for the Cheetahs in Heat 14. It was certainly a race that could have gone either way, but in the end, the start from the inside by Zach Cook, the ride around the outside by Starke. McDiarmid had a go here. I don't know if there's contact there between him and Killeen off the second turn, but McDiarmid then went square on the top turn. He was out of contention. Luke Killeen led the chase, but couldn't find any way through. And that was a great job done by Zach Cook here, because he held the inside throughout. He knew where Paul Starke was, and he just covered off every time. There was one time that I thought that Kelly might get a big run round the outside, and that was it for the Pirates, who lead by 43 points to 40 with 1 heat to go. Let's join Laura in the pits. Laura.
Thank you so much, Dave. Yeah, down here in the pits, we've come down to the pool end of the pits first. And when I say tensions are high, I'm not exaggerating. We've got a last heat decider on our hands. It's been to and fro throughout the whole night, and I don't think anybody saw this coming at one point. So let's have a quick wander up and down the pit bays. You can see what's going on. So behind us here, we've got the pool camp. It looks like, you know, they're all working really, really hard on their bikes. Got Paul Starke's dad there. What an eventful evening he's had. But to get back up off the ground a couple of times, and that performance in Heat 14 was amazing. I can tell you, he was screaming, he was shouting, he was very, very happy with it. We've got quite a lot of work going on in Louis Kerr's bike down the end. It looks like all hands on deck, and everybody really is jumping in, helping each other. We'll wander back through the pool pit bay and have a look at the Oxford camp. I'm sure you can see, I don't know if you can hear, that our spirits are high. They are all still having a good laugh down here, and, you know, why not? It has been a brilliant night. So as we make our way down here, we have got some junior riders as well. If you see some little ones walking around the pits, we've got a second half of a junior meeting today, and they do look adorable, walking around in their little sets of Kevlars with their steel shoes.
Well, we'll leave it with you now.
Captain Sam Masters Bay here. As you can see, his mechanics working hard. We haven't had any news on who we're going to see in Heat 15 yet, but I would suspect it will probably be Sam Masters in either the red or the blue helmet colour. Got Luke Killeen doing some bike adjustments. He's had a fantastic night. A bit of a tougher night for Mitch, but he has scored some really good scores over his meetings here, so I'm sure he will take it on the chin, pick himself up and come back stronger next time. Really focused Cameron Heeps. What a ride he pulled out in Heat 13. He did that at the weekend as well. It's, you know, it's really good to see. Obviously, he had that massive smash here earlier in the season. So to see him come back and pull out some really gutsy rides, it's, you know, it's no small feat to do so. I'm just having a look around to see if I can see any helmet colours going on. We've got Sam Masters down the end there in the red helmet colour. And it does look like Cameron Heeps in blue. But just until we get that confirmed, I'll hand you back up to Dave.
Thank you, Laura. Yes, I was just debating that in my mind myself, which way the team managers were going to go. And obviously Sam Masters picked himself almost always for Heat 15. And I think you have to go Cameron Heeps, as is clearly the case. Pure on the basis of Heat 13 with that 5-1 on the way they rode, and they've got the choice of gates here in 15, so why wouldn't you do the same again? The only other realistic option I think was Luke Killeen, but he missed out in Heat 14, so, and it would have been a huge ask there for the youngster. So they're going with Masters and Heeps, and it's Lawson and Cook going for the Pirates. Just to have that confirmed, and that is very much a case of top scorers on the night, and both Lawson and Cook have had 3 good rides and been 5-1 on one occasion. So Sam Masters, Cameron Heeps, Richard Lawson and Zach Cook is the lineup for Heat 15, and Oxford are going off gates 1 and 3 exactly as they did in Heat 13. So can they repeat the feat here? Lawson off gate 2 as he was in Heat 13, and it will be Zach Cook this time on the outside course of Anders Rowe in Heat 13. So I'm sure for Oxford the plan is exactly the same here. Heeps will try and dispatch Cook on the first bend, and if he can do that, can he then sweep round the outside of Lawson if Masters can do the job? I suspect that Lawson will be keen not to get done in quite the same way. Cab Direct sponsoring Heat 15, Sam Masters in red off the inside, Richard Lawson in white off gate 2, Cameron Heeps in blue off gate 3, and Zach Cook in yellow off the outside. A hugely eventful Oxford Poole clash here at Cowley this evening. The Pirates have 1 point in the bag already, but they probably need the 2 more here to have a chance of finishing top of the table and to gain their 4th away win of the season in the league in the process. And it would be a 4th home defeat for the Cheetahs if that happens, and the only way it won't happen is if Oxford get a 5-1 here in the last race. 3 points down heading into this one. Sam and Masters off the inside, Richard Lawson gate 2, Cameron Heeps gate 3, Zach Cook off the outside. Odds favouring Poole with that 3-point lead. Oxford certainly not without hope. The 5-1 in heat 13 from this combination of these gates. Lawson is certainly a rider you want for the big race. Cook has ridden very intelligently for much of the evening. All on here, heat 15. 40 points to 43. Sam Masters in line on the inside, waiting for Zach Cook on the outside here. His teammates in line. And here we go for heat 15. Sam Masters off the inside, Lawson off gate 2, Heeps off gate 3, Cook off the outside, 40 points to 43, green lights on, away they go, Masters gets the game, good start 2 by Heeps, now what can Lawson do? Heeps will go straight off the outside, blocked up by Lawson, Heeps can he squeeze round, Lawson stops Heeps, that can be absolutely crucial, Masters gets the lead, Lawson in 2nd place, Zach Cook in 3rd, Heeps did everything he could there around turn 2, but Richard Lawson, I said he wouldn't want to get done the same way as in heat 13, and he moved out. Crucially, he made sure that Cameron Heeps could not get round bend 2, and that could be exactly what the Pirates need here in heat 15. Sam Masters out in front, he can do no more. Lawson in 2nd place, Cook in 3rd, but Heeps at the back. This will be the 3-3 the Pirates need to secure the victory on the night by 3 points, despite that brave Oxford comeback in the closing stages. 1 lap to go, Sam Masters still race leads. 2nd place, Richard Lawson. 3rd, Zach Cook, and Cameron Heeps is out of contention now. Out the back, he's rolling his way round the 1st and 2nd bend. So Poole get the job done here at Cowley, despite the victory from Sam Masters. Masters wins heat 15. Lawson in 2nd place, Zach Cook in 3rd, and that was all about Richard Lawson there on turn 2. A ride there for the number 1 to win the meeting for the Poole Pirates, because Cameron Heeps so nearly did what he had to do on turn 2, and if he had done, I think that would have been Oxford taking the 5-1 they required. As it was, Lawson crucially moved out to block out Cameron Heeps. Zach Cook came through as well, and that made it a 3-3, and the Pirates won by 46 points to 43. They're talking about it now over the start-finish line as they take the applause or take the celebrations. They've already had it on the 3rd bend from the away crowd. Sam Masters gets a wave. He can do no more, as I say. And the 3-3 in heat 15. Sam Masters the race winner, Richard Lawson in 2nd place, Zach Cook in 3rd, Cameron Heeps out the back, and the 3-3 means the final score of tonight's Cab Direct Championship fixture, the Oxford Cheetahs 43, the Poole Pirates 46. And Cameron Heeps always had a big part to play here in the blue helmet colour, and he nearly did it, but whereas in heat 13 Richard Lawson got himself trapped on the inside by Sam Masters, he was not doing the same again here. There's Heeps trying to run around the outside, and Lawson just rides him wide. It's a fair move, nothing wrong with that, and Cameron Heeps can find no way through, and Zach Cook is there to cover off as well as far as the Poole Pirates are concerned. Textbook ride, you have to say, by Richard Lawson, learning from what happened the previous time and getting his victory his victory for his team as a result. Poole win here by 46 points to 43. They also take the aggregate point 94-85, and it means they do finish the Cab Direct Championship League programme with 31 points. Richard Lawson scoring 12, and that crucial ride in 15 to win it for his side effectively. And then race wins all the way down here. Louis Kerr with 7+2, an eventful night for him. Zach Cook, a quality performance by him, 10, paid 12. Anders Rowe scored 7 at number 5. Paul Starke, probably a difference maker, certainly in the closing stages, scoring 8+2, including that big ride in heat 14. And Will Cairns picked up 2 points in that unusual heat number 2. For the Oxford Cheetahs, Sam Masters outstanding again, 15+2, dropping his only point in heat 1. Jacob Hook did a good job as a guest with 5+2. Middle order was tough. Jordan Jenkins with 2 points, and that frustrating accident in heat 12 when he'd done such a great job. Mitch McDIARMID only 1 point tonight for Mitch. Cameron Heeps battling all the way, 6 paid 7, including a great heat 13. Luke Killeen always all action with 8 from 4, and Jonas KNUDSEN scoring 6+1 from 4. In the end, Cheetahs falling just short against the powerful Poole Pirates. 43 points to 46 the final score. The Pirates go on and take the aggregate point as well, and then we'll have to wait and see now what Glasgow do over their coming fixtures to see exactly exactly where they finish in the championship table. Well, they're certainly going to be, obviously, battling in the playoffs in the coming weeks. We'll see Poole again, of course, in the BSN series in a couple of weeks' time, 2 or 3 weeks' time on that one. And also we have the Maxi-Cab Knockout Cup as the Cheetahs take on a Redcar. So the league campaign comes to an end. An entertaining fixture, an eventful fixture, won by the Poole Pirates. It finished Oxford 43, Poole 46. And from all of us here at Cowley, it's a very good night.